Hello, everyone, and welcome to a spooky and festive winter solstice Yule-filled night on Face the Music, where we get to talk about music and all things video game music and musicians and gamers who like music and everybody who does like music. Yeah, we're here to kick off our Yule season with none other than Crypt the Necrodancer. Why not? Because, festive and stuff. On here, the darkest night of the year, we will be dungeon diving to some cool beats as we talk about music. We have a cool squad with us tonight that I'm super stoked to talk about some fun stuff with. So, let's go get some introductions for our spooky, cool, festive Yule squad tonight.
Hey, I'm Was Killed By. I'm going to be the runner of tonight. Going to be playing pretty much every character in the game, minus Coda. Hopefully going to go fast while doing it as well.
Hi, I'm Madeline. I'm the communications director at Brace Yourself Games. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm Danny. I do music for video games. I did it for this one here.
Yay! All right, yeah. Waski, you ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, you ready to do a countdown for us?
3, 2, 1, go. Okay. I know I just said I'm hopefully going to go fast, but at the moment, this current run is just going to be a score run, and so I'm going to go through every level and try to get as much coins as I can get. But yeah, this is a rhythm game and a dungeon crawler, very unique game. It's just going to be... I can only move to the beat of the music. It has a pretty steep learning curve, but once you get in the groove, you really just start to like the more you play, the more you understand like how the enemy mechanics work, because like everything moves to the beat, so you attack to the beat. You just really gotta keep focused on the music. It's very important. Otherwise, like as you see, like I'm missing beats because I didn't actually do it properly, or if I make an input that isn't something that's actually valid, then I also miss beat. So like if I just stand still, I lose my multiplier. Multiplier is very important for score running because the higher your multiplier is, the more coins you get from killing enemies. So I'm gonna try to keep it as high as I can throughout this run. Right there is a pretty good shop, the blood shop. I got my gold weapon, which is guaranteed from the blood shop. You always get at least one gold weapon, unless if you're playing on a daily challenge, but that is not what this is. Yeah, right there, that was the mini boss of the level. You have to kill a mini boss in every level. Well, unless you take a trapdoor, but there was not one to take here, but that's okay. Good little 25 gold pile there. It's nice to find. Oop. Gotta keep my beat. Yeah, but these spirits just very silly enemy, just like the spawn. Usually when you open caves, I think is how it works. Well, not always, but yeah. Right here is the cracked shop. I'm gonna take the transmute spell. When you use it next to an item, it takes whatever item that was and turns it into a different item, which is usually pretty useful on score running because it can be used to help you find a build that is more favorable to increasing your score. Ooh, I'm actually going to use it right now. I don't really need anything else there at the moment. Oh yeah, this trap right here, below me, it spawns enemies depending on what number is on the trap. It'll spawn that many enemies, so I'm gonna try to hit it on 6. So hang on, I'm focusing so I can get the correct number. So since I hit it when it had 6 on the face, it spawned 6 enemies, which is good for score since 6 enemies means 6 more piles of gold you can get. That was added last year. It's still a pretty new trap. So I'm not completely used to that being in the game yet.
You have to hit it like within the beat before the number, or does it stick around for a beat?
It sticks around for a beat. Like if it's on 6 and you touch it, you'll get it for 6. Like you're not gonna like, yeah. Thankfully, it doesn't like trick you. It'd be kind of rough. Yeah, like here we got another one. I'm just gonna stand still because it doesn't really matter at this point how high my multiplier is. I mean, technically it does, but I'm not going for like the absolute highest score I can possibly get this early on. There's plenty of time to get more stuff.
Nonsense, you're just showcasing the music for us.
That is true. This is the best time to listen to the music in the game. Well, this also, I guess it's also good to listen to the music during Deathless because you're also basically full clearing every level in Deathless mode because you gotta get as many items as you can to ensure your survivability. Yep. But yeah, as you see, like once you get towards the end of the song, the beat bars start going red. So that means that this song's almost over. So you gotta finish before the song ends, or you're gonna take a trapdoor to the next level. Doesn't really matter, but thankfully. Yeah, the traps can spawn enemies from any zone in the game. So that's not the only way you're ever gonna see a gold electric mage there. Unless if you're playing on a different character that can get them, but not relevant here. Nope, just changed to a different trident.
Danny, since we have a vocal track going on, you want to talk about the vocals on this track?
Yeah, so this is that's Nicholas Doust. Probably not saying that right, but this guy started doing vocal covers of the Shopkeeper tracks. And then Ryan, the Necrodancer guy, hired him to just record it and put it in the game. But like when I did Cadence of Hyrule, I made the Shopkeeper stuff as difficult as possible just to mess with him. It was pretty good.
Challenge run of doing the voice.
That's awesome.
You get a chance to watch his videos. They're so funny because like I definitely make the Shopkeeper do things that are not physically possible, and he has to find a way to do it.
And he does it.
4-1 has the funniest one. He's just like hitting his throat like this to go la. I enjoy causing people pain. I never write this stuff for human beings to play it, but people get on YouTube and do it anyway. Not my fault. Not my fault.
Did you like learn that from the Fifth Element soundtrack, where they make it because they write the song for Alien, and that's like on purpose?
I didn't think about them while I was doing it because I just wrote the most stupid thing I could because I think it's funny. But like after the fact, that occurred to me. That's such a cool scene.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get that character in as a DLC.
Let's make it happen.
Diva Plava Laguna.
Here is the first boss, or the first boss fight. It is random what boss you get. I just happened to get Fortissimo. He is a rapping mole. You'll probably never hear him actually rap.
He's the unholy moly.
Yeah, he is the unholy moly, underworld bully. Oh, here's the pawnbroker. You can sell stuff to him, get some items, although I don't really have anything that I want to sell at the moment. Well, that is good for score running, but only when you have stuff that you actually want to sell.
Yeah, there's a comment in chat too. When I did the amplified music, I also wrote 5-3 as hard as possible because I knew Jules was going to have to play it on guitar.
That's awesome.
People keep playing it, so I mean.
But yeah, on to the second zone. First zone was a bunch of dirt, and now we got a bunch of, I don't know, this is like, I don't know what this, we got a bunch of grass and mushrooms. Yeah, there we go. It's a very cool zone. I love the music in this one, especially. This is probably one of my favorite zones as far as music is concerned. Probably tied with Zone 4, honestly.
Zone 4 is good.
Yeah, I get to hear more of Nicholas right here. I love it. It's so good. Once they added him into Amplified, I changed Freddy to him and never went back. Not that I don't love Freddy, though. Oh, actually, I can sell this.
Freddy would be very upset that he doesn't get to be the star. I write all of his stuff with the understanding that he's like a huge egomaniac. And so, like, if you listen to what the shopkeeper does over the music, he will always play along. He'll sing along with the music, but then he'll, like, outdo it just to show that he can. And so, like, that was one of the things that, like, I followed as kind of like an inspiration to write that, of just to keep it, like, consistent, that he's always just, it's about him. Like, it's not about the song, it's about him. So.
Do you have other prompts for the characters, too, that you follow for writing purposes?
I mean, I think, no, the characters didn't ever really figure in that much to the writing, just because, like, you know, when I wrote most of it, it was only like a few characters, and it was just like cadence, melody, harmony, and yeah, so there wasn't really opportunity to like write music for the characters, but
Aria?
yeah. There's only one track that's unique to Aria.
Yeah. Oh, I think you said harmony at first, which is from Rift.
Oh, and
well, it seems like your mind is focusing on something currently.
Yeah. There's too many music puns.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we can do a little more bio introduction to everyone. Waski, how did you get into speedrunning this game?
Oh, I didn't necessarily start speedrunning like when I first found out about the game. I'd say I played the game for about like probably about like half a year before I actually beat it for the first time. Definitely didn't get into speedrunning until, honestly, probably not until Cadence Spiral came out. I was heavily inspired by Spoody Biscuit's Coda runs.
Spooky is in the chat right now as well.
Oh, nice.
Hey, Spoody.
Hey.
Shout outs. Thank you for being here.
Yo, Spoots.
Yeah, if you look up anything about GDQ and this game, it's just Spoody City for like the entire, like, anything you want to search is just like, oh man, this run was so good. Like, it got covered on a lot of different gaming news websites and all that stuff too. So yeah, shout out. Thank you for being here.
I want to live in Spoody City.
Okay.
This is Spoody's world. We're just living in it.
Oh, I'm killing for this. But yeah, when you... Oh, sorry. What were you going to say?
Go ahead. No, so you said you got into it after the 2016 run.
Yeah, I just heavily inspired by watching all of his Coda runs. It's just really, really fun to watch. And once I started watching those, it's just even more fun to play this game. It's just great. Definitely my favorite game.
Madeline, how did you get to be here today? Tell us your story.
How did I get to be here in this physical place? So I've been at BYG now for 3.5 years, I think. Oh my gosh, time flies. I joined as the community manager initially. I honestly hadn't heard of Crypt the Necrodancer until I joined the team, but pretty quickly fell in love with it. And also the community is just one of the nicest communities ever. And everyone is so knowledgeable about the game. And honestly, like, I learned how to play this game just by watching speedrunners too. People like Waski and Goof and Spoody. Don't tell Ryan I still haven't beat the game, but you know, I do my best. Before BYG, I was in esports. I was part of like my college esports club, which eventually led me to helping out other college esports clubs through Blizzard. Woohoo!
Yeah, a success story of the college esports experience. Right? It happened. Yay!
Yeah, I college esports was great. But yeah, after that, I moved back to Vancouver, which is where, well, I'm not there now. I'm in LA right now because it's holidays. But I worked for the Canucks for a bit because they bought an esports team, the Vancouver Titans, and I was their first esports hire there. And then after my contract was over, I just this opportunity came across my lap. I was like, this company looks rad, and now here I am.
Yay! We're happy to have you. Okay. Danny, how'd you, in a short version, how'd you come to be here today? How did you even get to this game? Tell us that story.
Short version?
How did you get recruited for this game?
Ryan hit me up in 2012 or something.
Okay.
Doing this, and it was just, they had like 10 tracks or whatever, and it's just, he knew me through other stuff I had done, like Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac, and that's the short one. Then I did it.
Was this an email? Was this a text? Was this a conversation over drinks?
It was on, this is how much a boomer I am, it was on Skype.
Okay.
Send me a Skype message.
Okay, yes. The lagginess of the Skype meeting. Yes, it's great. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was just, I hadn't done a music game before, but like, how do you say no to that? Like, you get to be, you don't really usually get to be the star when you're doing game music, which is
feeding your ego as well. Okay, so that's how this job. Got for you.
When I said Freddie was the egomaniac, it's actually me. I just
Freddie based off of Danny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's funny because they made the shopkeeper without me, and then it just so happened that I could like sing like the shopkeeper, and so Power Up Audio. Kevin, from what I understand, just thought it was funny to keep telling everybody that was me in game. And in game, it is not a human. It is a very artificial patch from something called Omnisphere. And so now everyone just thinks it's me, that I can sing like that. So cool.
What do you mean it is you?
Secrets. Yes.
Oh, I love that.
You did a PAX show, Danny, didn't you?
We did do a PAX show, and I did dress up like the shopkeeper, and I sang a couple songs as the shopkeeper.
Once you get the tone down, it's very specific, though. Yeah, you don't have to necessarily hit all the notes like that. It's all about the tone, all about the attitude.
Yeah, no, honestly I wanted it to be stupid. And I think it is, because Ryan was over at my place, we were having some beers, and I'm like, the shopkeeper just had like this little like notes coming out and this little like sound effect or whatever. I'm just like, Ryan, what have I made him sing? And he's like, try it. And I did it in the first one in like 25 minutes, and then it was just so funny. And then now I've had to do, God, how many because I did them all in Cadence of Hyrule 2 and Necrodancer, and just I've done so many. It's just so automatic now.
Do you get like cameos for it now? Like, is it that bad where you're just like, okay, time to work more?
Cameos?
Like, yeah, like where people pay for you to do shout outs to them, like personal messages from like celebrities and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
No,
you should do that.
You need to mine this vein.
Who wants to pay me to do a voicemail? Nobody has voicemail anymore.
Sing me happy birthday on my birthday, I'll pay you, yeah.
Wow, we're good friends. That's weird.
Oh, okay. Never mind, I won't pay you.
Also, it's really weird that our walls are the exact same color. It looks like we're literally sitting next to each other.
Yes!
Yeah.
You should, yeah. All right, cool. Waski, how we doing?
I'm good. I kind of forgot that I had only 20 minutes for the score run, so I'm kind of speeding up a little bit here.
How dare you? We're playing fast and light, not very quick and very hard.
It's the best song in the game, in my opinion.
Which one is this?
4-3.
Okay. I'm glad he didn't say 4-2 because I hate that song.
Oh, really?
I only like am not satisfied with one song on the whole soundtrack, and it's 4-2. There was no time left, and and that keytar that he's holding is actually modeled after my real life keytar.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
And
Everything is about you, huh?
I thought early on I did a Flash game and like way long ago, and the guy's like, "Hey, I need an idea for a weapon." I'm like, "How about my keytar?" And then so I'm just like, "I'm gonna try to get my keytar in every game I ever work on." And so it's in a few different games.
What is it, like a very specific keytar? Is that why? What model it is?
No, it's just the one I had.
Okay.
And I thought it was funny. Like most of the things I do, I just because I think it's funny. I don't really have any kind of morals or principles.
Okay, what? Okay, you just are feelings and actions.
Just goofs. I'm 95% goofs, 5%
Okay.
sadness.
Is there a story
I don't know.
behind? Is there a
I'm sorry,
story
was that
behind?
too deep?
Getting the keytar. Like a lot of weird instruments I've bought off of eBay and had to or Craigslist and had to go to like someone's house. Like I had played violin since fifth grade, and then I bought a violin for like $100. That's like some little girl's practice violin, and it was in such nice shape, and the lady was just like, "Oh, I'm so happy it's going to somebody who's actually gonna play it." And I'd like show up to their house, like in the middle of the woods or whatever, get this violin. It's just like,
Is it
hey,
haunted?
$100 violin. I don't know. It's cool. It's a white finish violin. Like, okay, it's like, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I know that it getting instruments off of Craigslist and stuff is always an experience. So I don't know how the acquisition of this keytar went down.
No, I just went to Guitar Center. Sorry,
That's so boring.
but I didn't get the extended warranty. Is that a cool story?
Yeah. Yes.
I resisted
really
it.
sticking it to the man. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh dear.
That's okay. I was over time for the score run anyways.
Okay, there it was. Yeah. GG's.
Thank you.
Woohoo. Okay. So now we're gonna get into do you want to talk about our next little showcase?
Oh, hang on. I gotta actually set it up because it's not an official a staircase that I can go to in game.
Okay.
Where is it? Okay, there we go. I'm gonna be playing 17 character, hopefully beating all of these characters. This mode was added last year when the Synchrony DLC came out, which the Synchrony DLC added a bunch of stuff, but it also added 3 new characters, Clarinetta, Chanter, and Suzu. So, I'm gonna start off with the hardest characters and try to, try to get all the way through. And I can't die. Well, and if I do die, I have to restart all the way to the back of the beginning. So, if that does happen, late into the run, I'll just do them in single zone or individually.
So the mode is supposed to be you don't die, period.
Yes.
But if
so
it happens,
hopefully that happens. Yeah.
Oh well, here's all the characters.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So do you want to give us a countdown for that?
Yeah. Okay. So 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. So I'm gonna start off with Mary, which is a very unique character. She has this lamb following her, and it'll always be there. If the lamb dies, you die, essentially. Technically, you have some time to get to the staircase after the lamb dies, but you're essentially dead if that happens.
So it's your least favorite character, is what you're saying?
Oh, no, I actually like her a lot, but she is pretty hard, though. Okay. We'll get to my least favorite character much later on, I think.
Okay. So that really goes to show what you are as a type of person, to go for the hardest ones first. You really like the tough situations. You're gonna go take them face on You're very brave in your real life.
I'd say to be more brave to do the hardest ones last, because if you do them last and you die, you have to start all the way back at the beginning.
Okay, yeah.
But I'll say that I'm very brave. Thank you. I'll take that compliment.
Who's your least favorite, Waski? Or is that a surprise?
No, it's not a surprise. It is Dove. I do
Okay.
not like Dove. She is too much RNG for speedrunning. It's not fun.
Okay. That is a least favorite character on a speedrunner technicality. So
Yeah.
it's just, it makes sense. It is not an emotional decision. It is a technical decision.
No, I don't have any emotional reasons behind it, thankfully.
Have you
Does
ever
that
lost
make-
on like the last character?
I don't think so. I know people have though before, and that's
So brutal.
so, yeah. It's always rough when you watch that happen.
What run is like your bread and butter? Like
Oh.
how you like playing this the most? Or
Oh, I
speedrunning
love.
the most?
Yeah, definitely Bard. Bard is my favorite character, by far.
Do you happen to have the world record as well?
Yeah. Maybe a little biased.
No big deal.
You're allowed to show off. That's why we have you here. You can brag. Big brags.
Thank you.
This is a brag-filled show. That is the point of this show tonight. To feel good on this Yule day.
Oh, Tar Monsters. Not fun. Is
Do
this the food shop?
you
It is.
get to play the game casually at all? Or are you in speedrun mode all the time?
The closest thing I get to that is playing Deathless mode, honestly.
Okay. And that's just vibing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Is that what you would recommend to people starting out playing this game?
Yeah, definitely just play it for fun, and if you enjoy it enough past that to torture yourself with speedrunning, then go for it. I say torture because it can be really hard to learn this game, but thankfully there's a lot of guides and resources to learning it. But sometimes it can feel pretty rough.
My favorite reviews on Steam are the ones that are like, this game is so hard, I am going to die, 10 out of 10.
That is very accurate. The amount of times I've seen someone speedrunning this game only to like, all right, I just died. That's okay. The amount of times I've seen someone speedrun this game just to like uninstall the game live on stream is just great.
Any percent uninstall.
Yeah, dying on this character is very easy.
Yeah, well then it's very, if that's your reset is your first character too. That's very speedrun nice.
Yeah.
So what did the other characters kind of like entail? Is it like, are all the characters kind of around, you said something like between like 10 and 20 minutes except for Bard?
Oh, that's mainly like if you're. Well, I guess it really depends on your skill level, because like most characters in the game can be beaten like under 10 minutes consistently. So, but that's like once you're at like a pretty like decent point into playing the game. So it can really vary depending on like which character, because some of them are just too like inconsistent when you're not quite good enough. Like with Monk is just a very rough character. We'll probably get to him after this one.
Okay. Is that like one of the biggest learning curves for this run?
It
Yeah.
was for me.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're vibing. We're enjoying it.
Yeah.
Having a good time. Yeah, when we were practicing Bard, Danny was complaining that we were getting 10 seconds of every song, so This is a nice change of pace from that.
Yeah, Bard is very hectic. It can be very overwhelming to watch and play, especially. Let's see what I get here.
Danny, do you find that to be a crime that the speed runs so fast you get 10 seconds of each song?
No, I just hope that it annoys people.
It's like the one friend who gets the aux in the car, and they're just going from song to song to song to song without like going through it. Yeah.
It's more that if I can't entertain somebody, I want to at least frustrate them.
Okay. That says a lot about you.
Oh, yeah.
We're getting deep insights over here.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, I guess we can talk a little bit about like everyone's musical history if we want to go down the line. Waski, what is your musical background?
Oh, I played the recorder in school once.
Yeah, hot cross buns for the win.
Heck yeah. That's really my extent, if I'm being honest.
Okay, so how do you listen to music on a day-to-day basis? Where is your like go-to listening platform? Do you listen like, on speakers with headphones in the car, any of that stuff?
Oh, it's mainly just like headphones when I'm doing like, I don't know, like stuff around the house mainly.
Okay.
I don't really listen to music outside of that unless if I don't know. Sometimes it's got to be in the mood,
Okay. So you let a little bit of silence into your life so that you can enjoy when the music comes.
Yeah.
I like that philosophy.
Give space for it. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah, Madeline, let's talk about your musical history.
High school band. I played the clarinet.
Yeah. Okay. Hey.
Also-
Yes. Go ahead.
Oh, I just, my favorite things were playing like Pirates of the Caribbean or something in band class. So good.
Okay. That's so sick that you had the opportunity to do that. And then, of course, now you're like ruined for any time you watch the movie, though, because you're just like, I can do that. I can do the whole thing. Well, it does help that the soundtrack to Pirates of the Caribbean is really good because it's not just one theme. There are many themes. I guess you amped up. They just continue into each other, too, which is great.
It is a banger soundtrack.
Yes. I'm glad you got to flex on the clarinet to Pirates of the Caribbean in high school band.
Thank you.
What is your go-to listening circumstances?
Similar to Waski, I actually don't listen to too much music in my off time. I listen to audiobooks a lot. I'm between books right now, though, so I have been listening to stuff on Spotify. Right now, I'm back on the Hamilton soundtrack for some reason. It just came around again, so.
I feel like I have been in so many scenarios where the Hamilton music has been playing when I'm over people's houses where they're either washing the dishes or cooking.
That's pretty much the exact circumstances when I'm listening to
where
the
it's
songs.
happened so many times, like I'm just like, is this happening again? Like a different person's doing this now? Okay.
Man, I do not have a single unique experience in the world.
Okay. Danny, you want to get into a complicated history on the Danny B getting into music?
Sure. When I was in 5th grade, I wanted to play the snare drum, and they put me on the glockenspiel, and I was upset because that's for nerds. And but I got the sheet music and I took it home, and I realized that I could put the sheet music into Cakewalk on my mom's Pentium 2 350 computer. And so when I was like 10 years old, I made this like techno remix of Good King Wenceslas in MIDI. And like that just, when that happened, it was like, wait, you can just put notes in a computer and it just does it. Like, and that was like, I don't know, I tried to get into other stuff, but nothing ever like held on to me like music. And then started doing remixes for overclocked remixes. Overclock Remix. You guys play a lot of their stuff.
We do. Yes. Almost all the time. Almost every single day we play it.
Yeah. So I did stuff there for years and years, and then met some people through there that ultimately led to me doing this game called Cannibalt, which was on the iPhone in like 2009, like right when the App Store was new, and it did really well. And that was the first game where like it could pay my bills. So then that is like when my career like started. And then I just did Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac, Desktop Dungeons, Necrodancer. I'm just always gonna be interested in like just producing music. I'm really interested in like the music and the engineering side of it. So it's just, I don't know, there's something about the combination of music and technology that's just like always going to be interesting to me. I'm a drummer, so I clicked everything in with my mouse for many years because like, I mean, how are you going to record a drum kit if you don't have any mics or a studio? It's not as easy as just like plugging in a guitar or a piano. But yeah, just somehow, God, what year is it? 14 years later, still doing it somehow.
Yeah.
So,
cheers. Yeah. Good job. The success story. So basically you hated and griped with your band teacher so much that you stole the sheet music and said, I'm not going to play the glockenspiel the real way. That's my band teacher wants to do it. I'm going to import all of this in my computer.
No, I still had to play the glockenspiel. I didn't.
Was it just the worst experience?
No, it's a noble instrument, and I played percussion all through high school and stuff. So I got to. It was fun because you get to play so many different. Like you play trumpet,
the gong, yes,
you play the gong, the flexitone, the whiro, you get to play so many different. We did the lion drum where you like it was this drum where you just like you poke a stick through a drum head and then you get a wet rag and just like pull on the stick and it goes like and that was what I did in that song. And also the triangle. I want to say the triangle is an unfairly maligned instrument, also a very noble instrument. And here's what people don't understand is like if you mess up the triangle, everybody knows it because it cuts through everything. And it's just this like you're just sitting there for 4 minutes and then you just bing and it just hits so hard and just oh man. Just that's the equivalent. That's like the bass drop in classical music is the triangle.
Shout out to all the triangle players.
Yeah.
But I did get really into the timpani.
Timpani.
I miss playing the timpani, and I don't, unless I join an orchestra or something, I don't know if I'll ever have an opportunity to play again. But it's just same kind of thing where like you are louder than an entire orchestra, and like it's just such a huge responsibility, and like it's such a huge thing. Like, I don't know, but it was. Yeah, I did my senior project was a 4-mallet marimba solo, but for some reason I could never learn to read music. I was never good at it, and even though I did it for like a long time, but I always had to like write in the notes and stuff. When it's left to right, just like drum notation, and it doesn't go up and down, it's fine. But once the notes start going up and down, I just kind of lose it. So
okay,
I don't know.
I don't think
I could play.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you my experience with reading music too. So I am like you, most of the time a single note at a time instrument player, as I am a vocalist. So that means I do one thing at a time. And drum notation is you're playing one thing, but it's like it's not melodic, so you're not having to read everything all the time. So that's why it makes it so much harder because our instruments are not inherently what's going on all the time. With sheet music, and that's why it's very hard. Like I see the notes go up and down and I'm just like, yeah, but it does take me like a minute to actually get in to be like, okay, that's that one. Like if I'm out of practice, it takes so long for me to be like, all right, because I don't do it very often. I don't read sheet music all the time.
What I did like though is when you're in percussion, sometimes you'll have like 2 triangle notes or like 3 cymbal crashes in a whole piece of music, but you get to sit back there and like everyone else would like do their homework or something, or just, you know, in the meantime. But like, I got to just be in the middle of an orchestra and just like see all the different sections and hear them, and like, you know, I paid attention. And so it was just like this constant experience of just like learning how all these different sounds should like gel together and what their different purposes were. So that I think that really helped me later on when I started like just writing music. And it's just like, well, what's missing? Okay, well, this kind of frequency range, you know, I did mostly orchestral music before Cannonball. I thought I was going to be a film composer. I never did like a lot of electronic stuff. But like, yeah, it's I don't know. It was fun being back there with all the toys. And Spoody asked about a Kawika.
Yeah, go ahead.
And a Kawika is a tiny lion drum that you hold it like this, and there's a stick inside, and you go, whoa, 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 whoa. And it's just literally a wet rag on a stick just going, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's, again, a noble instrument, but it sounds like you're killing a monkey.
I am going to go through this stream, and I'm going to make a compilation of all the Danny noises, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
All right. It's going to be on the TikToks.
Maybe.
It's so cool that you brought up that you were in the perfect listening experience for a lot of like. I hope that your high school band was able to play like pretty good music as well. Like you know, get you out there and experience different people. And you know, just the education system is all over the place, so you never know like how much, you know, actual arts people get exposed to, because I come from also like a pretty decent musical high school, so we were able to play a lot of cool stuff. Like we did like chorus, orchestra, band. We did like half of Carmina Burana, like the big giant like orchestral movement thing about like the seven hells. It was so cool. I had no idea what we were doing. We were freshmen. I was just like, all right, this is cool. But it's like, I know not every school like has that. So it's so cool that you were able to be and just listen while everyone else was like doing their homework and stuff. You were actually like, the gears in your brain were turning. You were like in the perfect space for what musically you wanted to listen to at the time.
Yeah, I got to go to a pretty good school, and we had a really good football team, and I was in marching band. So marching band was like a big deal. It was very important just because like the football and everything. But like then when marching season was over, kind of all the other musicians like didn't really, all the other drummers didn't care. They were just like, we're in this for drumline and we don't care about like, so I got to be section leader in orchestra all 3 years of high school. We had 3-year high schools down there. And so I got to be like really involved with it because I was super interested in it. So like, yeah, no, I got really lucky to be in that position.
I know you talked about in other interviews, you were talking about how your mom was the person in your life that was really into technology. So how did having access to a computer where you could start like immediately getting into music and, you know, exploring like help you? Was it like did you have to wait for, I don't know, like your mom to come home and like a program for you to get, or you just access to everything you could want like immediately?
One of my first memories in life is sitting on my mom's lap and her teaching me how to launch Candyland.exe on our old 8088 IBM PC.
Is that your first video game, Candyland?
It might have been, but like I was definitely one of those kids who was fixing my parents' computer when I was like 6 years old. Like, I mean, at least they told me I fixed it. I don't remember. I probably made it worse and they just told me I fixed it. But like, no, it was great because like at some point, just because I was so into it, my mom, I kept ruining. Okay, well, that is true because I remember I messed up my mom's computer so bad she had to get a new one, and so she gave me the old one. And so I started getting into MIDI files. I thought MIDI files were just the coolest thing ever because it was just like you could change them in real time. And so like I downloaded a ton of like video game MIDIs, and I would just put them in these programs, and I'd be playing like the Breath of Fire 3 boss battle, and I would change the trumpets to like a guitar, and I'm like, oh man, I'm a remixer, like, and it was just, and then I started putting these songs into a program called Guitar Pro way back in the day. I didn't play guitar, but I learned how to write. I wrote most of my first music in guitar tablature despite not playing guitar. It was such a kid thing to do, where it's like, hey, this is fun. I don't know what any of this is, but it's fun, and I know I can click this and put a number and it does a note, so I'm gonna do that. And so I started doing remixes of like Linkin Park and Finger 11 and all this old stuff. And yeah, it just, I don't know, I never stopped. So.
That's so interesting that your kid brain was just like, if I click a button, then something happens, but for like a serious thing that you're doing, like a quote unquote serious hobby. But you know, you were at like the correct age where kid brain was happy that it just continued. Did you see that like as you went through middle school and high school, your taste evolved with that? Or were you just like always chasing like the next technological thing that you could do?
I'm always chasing technology still. Like it may, like nowadays, just I don't know. I don't want to get too into it, but like technology has shown its kind of darker side in recent years that has kind of thrown me off a little. But like I grew up with Star Trek. I'm looking to the Star Trek future where just like technology is used to like uplift and create and like do all these great things. And so like yeah, like we're also kind of at diminishing returns in a lot of ways, I think, with audio technology. Because when I was in college in like 2002. You know, we still used reel-to-reel tape machines. And like these old guys were like, well, it's analog versus digital and who knows who's gonna win. I'm like, come on, dude. Like it's
what a terrible. That's so funny because when I went to music school, it was literally just like, I'm not sure about this streaming thing. Right. Is what all the old guys were talking about. I mean, I'm like, also not so sure about the streaming thing because nobody gets paid for it. But yeah.
But yeah, like it's back in the day, it was like, you know, I started on like FL Studio. It was called Fruity Loops back then. I started on Reason, basically whatever I could pirate, figure out how to pirate when I was, 12 years old. The virtual instrument, the software instruments that you used back then, I mean, they were okay, but you had such limited CPU. Like you had such limited computation to do all this stuff where like you had to just be really careful with how many tracks you did, that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's not, I mean, if you get a decent computer these days, it's not much of a problem anymore. So it's, it doesn't, I don't know what big technological advancements are lying in wait for me over the next, I don't know, 20, 30, 100 years, however long I live,
Yeah, you talk about how you were limited to like 32 tracks or something like that. Like whatever it was just literally like, okay, and then everything burns down. Like there's nothing happens. Like that's it. You broke it. It crashed. We're done. I remember there was an interview about My Chemical Romance's Black Parade and how that specific song had like the most tracks that have ever been recorded at the time, which was like 160 or something like that on one song. And then they were going down the list of like everything that's in there. And they were just like, yeah, everything's necessary. But they were talking about how like that's the most that's ever been used at the time. And it's just like, now you look at everything, you're just like, you're not limited by anything anymore. Like you're good to go. As long as your computer can run the programs okay, then like you're fine. Like when I was in school, we had to get like the specific MacBook to run Pro Tools. And like even then it was just like, okay, but it's not the good Pro Tools because the good Pro Tools are in the studio on the big Mac computers. And those are the ones that you really want to run. And it's like just from then to now, like 10 years, just being able to do everything all the time now. Like just be creative, is so cool.
And I'll even say like I hear a lot of times people talk about like introducing limitations to kind of get certain kinds of creativity out of it. That's never really been my approach. I push it. I have a crazy rig at work and at home. I got a MacBook M2 Pro and I just push it as far as it will go. I'm just always more. Like if there's any challenge I have writing, it's not doing too much.
But there's something to be said about because you've grown with the technology, you understand the base of everything that's being implemented. Like all of that's going to be on the next version of the next thing. So I feel like when people are limiting themselves, they don't totally understand what's necessarily going on. And, it's definitely like when you start making a song, you start making a project, you're just like, oh man, I gotta write right now. I got no idea. So using that as like a writing tool to be like, okay, well, if I limit myself to this, then I'll be okay. But because you've grown with the technology, you're able to just be like, nah, I know what everything does. I'm good.
Yeah, there's a, like, if I'm doing, sometimes I'll do like chiptune style stuff, which I never did actual like tracking or anything. So it's never like legitimate chiptune. It's like, sampled stuff. But like, that can be kind of refreshing to just be like, well, I only, if I do too much, it's not going to sound very chippy. But then also just, I'll do it more often. I'll do it for like musical reasons, where it's just like this chord progression, I don't know if it works or not. I need to just like pull it out and just have it just be a piano. And like, does it work just with a single instrument, just with a piano? Because if it doesn't, then it's like, well, maybe I need a better chord progression. Maybe I need a better like core to it. Because like you can do a lot of lifting with like the production of stuff to make it sound better, but it's just like, I think it's really important to always stay focused on like, is the actual composition itself, can it stand on its own? I think there's, I love EDM, progressive house and like, the real old school EDM stuff, where it's much more about like sounds and like vibe than it is about like theory or like progression and stuff. And I think there's a ton of value to that. And I kind of try to do both of those things. I try to make sure both of those things are good. The composition is good and like the sounds and everything are good.
That's such a cool take. Like there's a lot of insight into your music through that, which is really cool that you've like found your niche of like what works for you like over time.
Well, I was kind of self-conscious about like, somebody told me once that my music sounded like it was from a video game, and I'm like, you jerk, screw you, whatever. And then a few years later, I was just kind of like, yeah, I know, that's what I do. Like, I'm into it. Like, cool. So I make, like the Necrodancer stuff, even like some of the stuff, I'm like, man, I really wish I could make this stuff sound more like legit club music, like legit produced club music. And like now I think I'm at the point where I can write in more in that style and have it be more like, not legitimate, but like authentic club music. But I keep finding myself doing it, and then I'm just like, nah, this ain't me. Like, I want it to be kind of stupid and kind of old and kind of weird, because it's just like, there's not that there's enough of that kind of music, but it's just like, that's not what I do. What I do is like try to make like, what if Super Nintendo music was made today? Like,
yeah. Wasky, how we doing over here?
Oh, I'm doing good, thank you. Just got to one of the more sketchy characters, gotta have focus on this. Well, I mean, you can still talk, I just need to...
Yeah, no. I just wanted to check in. Yeah.
Do you have any cool recorder stories? I guess not.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry.
I just want to say that
private.
you did like such a cool move in like zone 4, where you used one of the green, I can't, what do they call it? But you like teleported over gold and then you went down the stairs. And I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
that was so good.
Yeah, the Warlock teleports a fun on mine.
Yeah, the Warlock.
I made copious notes of things. Yeah, I heard that somebody. Oh, first off, your company is called DB Soundworks. What a nice set of initials to have as somebody who goes into the music to make a production company. Wow.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Little on the nose. A little bit.
For those people not in the know, DB with a lowercase d and a uppercase B stands for decibels. It is a musical term. So Danny's initials work real well with that.
And that's why my username is still Camel Case with the D lowercase and the B uppercase.
Yeah. So I saw on your Wikipedia page, lovely Wikipedia, there's a quote saying that the genre of music you make is spook house rock.
Yep. Someone told me that once, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. I'm into that. And that really came into like fruition with this game because I had done, I don't know, like I've done other games and like I did Industries of Titan and recently, and that was like a very Vangelis inspired kind of like Blade Runner-y, not super beat driven stuff, and that was a nice break. But it's just like this, you know, Super Meat Boy. I feel like Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac got me kind of like primed to do what is my bread and butter, which is like just spooky, poppy, dumb, dancey stuff. Like just like when I say dumb, I mean kind of like I really like melodrama. I really like not taking it too serious. I like it just being a little video gamey, being a little like once if I start taking it too seriously, I'm not into it anymore. So
okay, that's where your interest lies. You gotta be having fun. That's awesome.
Always.
Okay. There's like two routes I can take with this questioning. Sorry, I was prepared for both of these things. We'll get into one right now, I guess, like the technical side of the question. We'll come back afterwards. So this game, were you given it, like you saw the engine when you started composing for it? Or they just said, hey, we need 10 tracks. They have to kind of be like this because of this is how the game works. So what did it look like initially? And then how did you overcome trying to, you know, like I know you talked about how like most of the songs are like 120 beats per minute and 3 minutes. So how did you overcome the challenges of like trying to write, not be very samey while including things that had like a beat composition to them so you could play along to them? So yeah, what did it look like when you were given it? And then how did you make so many songs? And,
it didn't look very different because it's a pretty simple game, like artistically, like not it's by design. Like it's like Zone 1 kind of had the floor texture, like and you get the idea right away. It's like, okay, so it's like a pixely grid based kind of thing, roguelike thing, move around and you know. So then when it started, we worked a lot on like, okay, how many zones, how many levels per zone? Do we have it so it just plays through like tracks randomly, whatever? But then, so we ultimately settled on this, like, okay, there's gonna be 4 zones, 3 tracks each. And it was like, zone 1 was just like, okay, I'm just gonna do kind of Zelda-y, Final Fantasy-ish, like Super Nintendo dungeon music, but like with a beat, because it has to have a beat. There has to be a pulse on every beat because it has to for the game. Zone 2 was like, okay, this is going to be like mushrooms and it's like, you know, whatever. And I thought, okay, well, why don't we bring it down a little bit? And so I went more like funky and like trip hop and like I tried to do trap music for like 2-2. Like literally the only thing that is trap about it is that it uses like those drum samples, but like I don't think it's actually. Anyway, Zone 3 is cool because it was fire and ice. There was one side that was fire and one that was ice. And I'm just like, all right, well, fire's easy, just heavy metal, you know, just that, and then just like I mixed it really like warm, which if anyone's into mixing, you know what that means, just more low frequency, less high frequency. And then on the ice side, I made tracks that could crossfade 1-to-1 at any time. You could crossfade between them and it would be at the same time part of the song, but it would be a totally different like arrangement, instruments, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was really fun to do to make. I mean, it was twice the work, but it's just like when you're in Zone 3, you hear it. And like as you get close to the ice side from the fire side, it just slowly starts crossfading into it. And right when you're in the middle, they play on top of each other. And since they're basically the same song, they work together. I've done a bunch of that since. I had so much fun doing that I did a bunch of it in Cadence of Hyrule, like so much of it. And like I've done it in other games too. Zone 4 is kind of, I tried to just get intensity and like spooky and like the purple of it. Actually, I don't fully know how much this comes across, but just like the music in Zone 4 is purple. I can't tell you why that, but it's just like I wrote music that felt like it fit in a purple world. I don't know what that means, but like that's what I went to. Like I don't think you always need to fully understand your motivations when you're writing music. You just pick one and then you just go with it. And then in Amplified Zone 5, that's all like electricity. So it's a lot of very crackly, buzzy, like just sounds that I would associate with electricity. And that, I mean, at that point, I've been doing it for so long that it kind of started to like write itself. Yeah, I forget. Was that the whole question? Was that all of it?
Okay, so that's what you were, yeah. So basically because you had the zones, you were able to change up your like palette, basically. And that was what allowed you the creativity.
And it gave me something to shoot for. You know, like Zone 2 is just, it also was a way to bring down the intensity for a second, just because as speedrunners of this game might know, it's very intense, and it's intense for a long time. And so trying to have some stuff in there that's just not slamming you in the face with beats, you know, some halftime stuff where like the tempo is still what it should be, but it's halftime, so it's not as like driving all the time. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. So it's cool that you like showed the passion of writing it as well. Not just like, oh no, like it is a job you are being paid for, and you're just like, I wrote some music. You were just like, oh yeah, and it was so cool, and then I do that all the time now. Like that's so awesome to hear from you that like you, not to be like, you know, oh, like you shouldn't have passion in your life anymore, but to be like, you clearly are loving what you do.
Yeah,
and it's great to actually like hear that from people.
Yeah, so I mean, like when I was a kid, I also tried to do like Photoshop and I'm gonna make movies or do pictures and stuff or art, whatever. And I got so mad at Photoshop, I put my fist through the wall. It was so frustrating for me. My uncle got me this thing one year. He got me Visual Basic to like learn how to do programming, and then I followed a tutorial and I couldn't even get like an alarm clock to work, and I got so mad I didn't want to do it. But what I realized is that like the music stuff, it's frustrating sometimes, but it's just there's always that interest, and it's just in particular over the years I've kind of zeroed in on like I'm very fortunate because a lot of people, you know, will go through life and never really figure out like what their passion is, but like for me it is absolutely how does music work in a game, making music for a video game. Like I'll make music. I haven't made a lot of music outside of games because I'm just not really that interested in it. Even like film score stuff, like I did a bunch of film score stuff, but I just never really dug it. It's just because when you write music for a movie, it's like, here's like 90 minutes of stuff that happened, like put some on it. And that just, not that film music, there isn't tons of great film music. That's just not for me. I want to write music for interactive systems. I want to write music that scores a potential set of events, and there's happy accidents, and there's just kind of like, it's kind of loosey-goosey a little bit. Like it doesn't always, which is funny because like in this game, every single beat corresponds with like a gameplay action, but just like in general in games, it's just like, you know, having these moments where like something happens in the game and it seems like the music kind of knew that was going to happen, but it doesn't, because I don't really do a lot of like actually interactive music. I really just like to write music that like, all right, here's this loop or this thing, and like most likely it's gonna line up, and that just is the puzzle in my head that never gets old, and I don't think it ever will.
Yeah, just like the right amount of stimuli like feeding you, and it's the fact that you can like constantly do it too, that you constantly get like new input from other places and new challenges, and you know, like as the technology grows and as you're going to be writing for different sets of engines and different systems and different puzzles and all that stuff, you're going to figure out like, okay, like how can I make this perfect? Like all the elements fit together. That's so cool that you like it's nice that the exact job that you're doing feeds your passion for it in the exact way that you need to. It's a nice lineup.
Yeah. You telling me, bud. Yep.
Okay, so the second line of questions I was going to talk about was, I know you've talked about how you said you're really into Weird Al and Tenacious D, and then you really like Queen and Muse as well. You like really like, you know, over the top stuff. So how much of your writing, because you write mostly quote unquote rock stuff, how much of a rock element do you think is always going to be in your music? Like, have you tried to, I know you talked about like tried to veering off to do like trap and you felt like it didn't work. have you like come to terms with being like, no, this is my sound, this is what I'm doing, like, you know, or you know, do you go back and listen to all that stuff again and you know, feel validating what you do or get new ideas? Like, how did the influences that you had as a kid like affect you?
Yeah,
that was like
so
5 questions. I'm sorry.
Sure, yeah, I'll mix it around and see what happens. Grew up with a lot of Queen growing up. Also grew up with a lot of musicals. My mom loved musicals, so I listened to a lot of like Phantom of the Opera, The Music Man, like a lot of these old musicals and stuff. And just, you know, I think, you know, the Weird Al was such a great thing to get into as a kid because you get to hear so many different kinds of music, and you don't take it seriously. Because like I do like to have a little bit of a sense of irreverence in music, because when things just get serious, I lose interest. Things have to be kind of funny for me to stay interested. And so just like, I mean, what was it, Maddie? The Neon Chihuahua in one of the riff tracks?
Yeah, I loved that one.
Maddie hangs out in the studio sometimes when I'm writing, and just like there's this one, you know, if we play the song later, I'll show it to you, but there's a part where there was a preset called Neon Chihuahua, and it sounds like a little electronic barking dog, and it was so funny. I just had to use it. And so like the melodrama, Queen, Muse, to a lesser extent Radiohead, I think does that kind of stuff. Definitely Tenacious D. System of a Down is huge for me. Like most of my Korn, like I grew up with nu metal. Like I was 16 when like nu metal was the rage. And so like the stuff I listen to on my AirPods when I'm walking or just doing anything is mostly like nu metal. And it's so just like, I don't know if it's self-aware, but it's so full of itself that it's funny to me. Like System of a Down definitely is, because they do super hardcore stuff and then go boop a doop a doop doop like right after that, and it's so funny to me. And I don't know. There always has to be kind of a comedic element to it. So yeah, I hope that answered a partial list of your questions.
I know you've talked about before about like authenticity, and I guess like what you consider authenticity is also being like aware of yourself. And like when bands or musicians go full in and they're just like, we know what we are, this is what we are, this is what we're doing, and like that's what like that means to you, is just being very self-aware.
I mean, before I wanted to be a musician, I wanted to be a stand-up comic. And I just, because I love making people laugh, I love laughing. Comedy was probably my first love before all this stuff. Like I grew up watching Comedy Central just way too much when I was young. And I don't know, the stand-up comic thing, I don't think it ever would have really worked out for me. But like just doing anything and not having some laughter, I went to a spa last weekend and they're like, you have to be quiet, there's no laughing. And I'm like, I mean, it was still a great time.
Isn't relaxing. Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, and so I get it in that case, because it's just like people are trying to go and just like really, really relax, all that kind of stuff. But it's just like, I asked somebody once, I'm like, when you have a conversation with somebody and nobody laughs, is that weird? And they're like, no. I'm like, I can't handle that. Like, I'm super dad joke every time I'm in a restaurant. I can't help myself but trying to make like the waitress laugh with some stupid joke. I'm sorry for all the people I have foisted that on. I know I am that person, and I apologize deeply for who I am. But like, just, I don't know. I seeing people laugh at the shopkeeper, like, and this many years later, I showed my nephews the shopkeeper when they were like 4, and they lost their minds, and they would just not leave that room, and all they wanted to do was go and see that shopkeeper and just laugh their little butts off. It was such a great feeling, you know.
That's awesome.
It's hard to tell, you know. The scary thing about being a comic is that if you tell a bad joke, it's just silent. Mm-hmm. If you play music, you can't hear the silence because you're taking up all the like sound space in the room. But like what I kind of take from that is that like, I don't know, it's hard to tell if people enjoy your music, especially when you're like me and you just type it into a computer and send it over the internet, and all your feedback is like YouTube comments. Like I've been starting to play live more, and I played live a lot, and like you'll get applause and this kind of stuff, but like it's hard to tell if people like it. But when something's funny, you know it. And so
immediate feedback.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm working. This is a great therapy session. I think I'm working this out in real time. But I think I get some of that, like I wanted to be a comic stuff from just making stupid, silly music, right? So
yeah. Well, it's also okay. So this is definitely something that I feel too in my life, where it's like, you know, somebody takes a photo of you and you don't own that photo unless you're making a silly face. And you make a silly face, you own that photo. You're owning it. Now no one can comment about you. No one can say anything. You're making the silly face. That's what you're doing. It has been established my whole life, like, oh, if I make the silly face, I own that photo. That is mine now. Same thing with like making a joke about yourself. If you're the one to make the joke about yourself, nobody else can point out or make a joke about yourself because you said it. So you own that. And I find, like you said before, when you have a conversation with people and you're trying to make them laugh, that's like direct feedback to like know if the conversation's going well or you're like doing okay, you know, if everyone's like comfortable, instead of being like, oh, like, you know, like you're losing people, like they're what, you know, you're at a party and people are like looking at the squirrels outside or something like that, like trying to have a conversation with you. You're like, oh, I totally lost them. If you're like trying to like bring the jokes in, then it keeps like, you know, everybody focused and all that stuff too. But yeah. So same with music though. If you make the silly music, then nobody can criticize it because it's the silly music and you know what it is. So it's the silly music.
It's a loophole.
So
it can't be bad if it's a joke, right?
Yes, correct. That's the point. It's if you aren't looking at it at a very critical, serious lens, then it can be whatever you want. And that goes with most things and, you know, our stuff. Like you're having a conversation, you make people laugh. You could be having a serious conversation, but you're making them laugh. It matters, like, not that it matters less, but, you know, like, Danny's sitting at this thing that about my life that I integrate so much too, which is like you can have a good time, you can laugh, but you can also have a serious conversation, a heartfelt conversation with people. You don't have to be one or the other. It's not one or the other about stuff. It's you know, everything at once. Just because I can be goofy doesn't mean I don't want to have like the hard conversations with people, you know.
Right.
And so thank you.
Yeah, no, I've had a realization about myself recently where it's like I communicate with humor. Like humor is like really important to me in like communication. And for a long time I was just like, man, it kind of sucks that I make instrumental music because I don't write lyrics. You know, I don't write books. I don't do like all I do is write instrumental music, which is this kind of just like ephemeral thing where it's just like, here, have some feelings. Like, but like what am I actually saying or whatever? But like I've come in a lot more comfortable with it in recent years because it's just like what I want to communicate is just like joy, enjoyment, fun. Like it's such a huge part of my life that like, so yeah, that's what comes out 99% of the stuff I write. I mean, Titan was a little bit more straight-laced, but that was also me trying to like try something else. And it was a good experience. I'm not like itching to do that kind of music again. It was good to do stuff that wasn't locked to the beat because man, that it's fun to just not have a beat sometimes. But like, yeah, it has been. And so like if we go back to like when I first see this game, what a silly concept. Like what a silly thing. And I was just
the
I was
fact that
sold.
It's pun based as well.
Yeah.
You know.
I give Ryan a lot of crap all the time because he's always making these puns, but it's just like, man, if Crypt and Necrodancer took itself like super seriously and was just like, I don't think I would be anywhere near as into it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Wasky, how we doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Quick note, if this game's, oh wait, what? Why did I get? Oh, sorry, I got completely distracted by the fact that I just got an achievement. I don't really play with this character that often, so that kind of surprised me. But yeah, Chancer right now was a character that was added last year with the Synchrony DLC. It's really cool character. You get to play as pretty much every enemy in the game. It's a very unique character. Probably the most unique character in the game, honestly.
I did not even know this character existed because I have not played this game in quite a while. This is very fun for me.
He's a cute little bagpipe ghost.
And you
That
get
chalk was really cute.
And then all the different monsters have different mechanics when you like possess them.
Oh yeah, yeah. You take up like everything like you'd expect. Like the dragon has the fireballs. I don't think you can play as the bosses though. I don't think that's allowed.
This is cool.
Can't
I should
remember.
play this game sometime.
Yeah.
I should try this game out.
Hey, you're not technically paid to play the game. You're just, like that's not technically your job. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, Waski, whenever we're done with our bagpipe friend, we can take a little break so you can have a little bit of time in between
Yeah.
your characters.
Oh, I didn't realize that we don't slide on ice. Neat. Learning stuff.
Yes, we're learning so much. I know. What do you say you had 4,500 hours into the game, and
Yeah.
you got another achievement? Let's go.
Yeah, there's always new stuff to learn. This game, it's just the skill cap is very high.
Madeline, when you said you've been working with the company for about 3 years now,
Yep.
so
Just over 3.
yeah, like what are some like I don't know great things you've learned about like the process of I guess like even making video games or being around or being a company actively making video games and all that stuff that you learned from and things that surprised you, all that stuff.
Oh man. Well, I mean, one of the cool things about being in community or marketing is that you kind of get to have your hands in like every part of the company. And so I don't go super deep into anything like game design or music, but like Danny was saying, I like to sit in with him when he's doing his thing. And I get to just like talk to everyone and see what it is that they're working on. So I think just like the coolest thing is just how good everyone is at their job and how much it takes to create a game. Like it's honestly seriously a miracle that any game ever gets published ever.
I think it's like a quote that like every company like I've seen make.
Yeah. It's there's so many things that can go wrong and only so many ways that a game can go right. So it's really, really awesome to be able to see everyone do cool work and then be able to tell the world about the work that everyone's doing. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so you get to be the friend to everyone, and
Yeah.
So you're often like being like, oh yeah, you see what this person's working on, and the other person's like, no. You're like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
So you're just
yeah,
like
exactly.
amping up everyone. That's awesome.
Yeah, I like get to be everyone's hype man. I'm like, this is really exciting to me. It's gonna be really exciting to other people. Let's talk about it more.
Yeah. That's great. So that like, do you find that like that level of excitement, it like is what you're looking for like in your job? Like that's like something that you've like, one of you talked about how you were in esports before, which is a very like, hype-based job.
Yeah.
Is that like the kind of environment you really like working in?
Absolutely. I find that even if I'm not like super into a title that we're working on, like if the people around me are like incredible and are super cool, then like I want to do the best that I can for them. And so it's like the people that you work with are really the ones that make the experience, and that includes community as well, right?
Sorry, I got really distracted by the music because it like totally changed. I was just like, oh yeah, like change of environment, let's go.
Yeah, we're back on 4-3.
I like spooky ghosts too. Like, I'm liking all these vibes right now. Yeah, Alan, thank you. Like, that's awesome that you have good workplace vibes. Speaking of workplace vibes, Danny, it's really cool that you actually can work from a workplace and work at home. Do you want to like talk a little bit about like what your I guess, like work life looks like, or what like
Yeah.
it looks like now?
Yeah, I mean, so for many, many years, I worked at home. I just wrote at home whenever. But part of why I came up here to Vancouver was to work for Brace Yourself, and Ryan was going to build me a studio. So I actually have a recording studio now. And so now I do my best to not work at home at all, because definitely have some work-life balance issues. And it's because, like, I'm very fortunate to be where I am and do what I am. And so there is, I think, a little bit of pressure of just, like, you know, do as much as possible all the time, you know, earn it, that kind of thing. But it just, I was not able for a long time to separate. Like, I couldn't relax. I couldn't come down, right? Because I always felt like I had to be, if I was able to write at home, I would feel obligated to. I have now, every once in a while, I've had to, but I make that the exception now, because it's like, I'm gonna go to the studio right there, and then when I come home, I'm not gonna do that. And so now I've been able to, I feel, get a little bit of separation there, so that, I don't know, I just don't go crazy, because it's like, when you're freelance, I think you mentioned you do some freelance stuff, and it's just like,
I pretty much mostly freelance,
you're always on, and weekends mean nothing. And like, you know, even over like holiday breaks and stuff, it's just like, well, I got this deadline and this is what I do, and I do it. So yeah, it's been really nice. You know, there's this kind of like gradient where, you know, you start out and you play, your music making software is on the same computer as World of Warcraft, and there's no separation. And then if you're lucky, you get a place where you can have, or no, if you're lucky, you can get a second computer, and you can say, okay, this computer has music, this computer has World of Warcraft on it. All of this relates to World of Warcraft, if you're wondering. And then you get to the point where it's like, you can have a separate room. And so for a few years, I had a place where I had just a music room. And when I go in there, I work. It's not a gaming PC, I just work whatever. World of Warcraft is on the other computer. And now that I have this studio, like, I was kind of wondering if, when I got this gig, like, I could get away with just playing video games, you know, but I don't. Like, I'm not even like tempted to play games at work. It's just, I'm there, I write, I'm in the studio, and then like, so yeah, I think having that separation is like, just, I will always try to have a separate location that I go and write now, because it's so much more efficient too, because you just go there and you get it all done, and you're not constantly being distracted, and you're not constantly like, oh, well, Netflix, so.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Well, I'm happy you have that in your life. Like, you've finally found the balance that you need. It's just, you know, it's hard when, I guess we're all gamers too. And we're just like, the computer does the same thing that my job does. It's hard. Yeah. All right. With that, Waski did another great job on my character. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, give Waski a little bit of a break. So yeah, everyone, please, you know, stand up, grab your water, and, you know, take a little stretchy, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Welcome back to Face the Music on this lovely solstice evening. We're talking about Crypt the Necrodancer with some cool people. Unapologetically Black and Fast is back. Submissions are now open for UBAF through January 9th. Use the command UBAF in chat for more information. All right. So tonight, we're talking about Crypt the Necrodancer. There's a lot of people involved, but one person that was super involved in making this whole show happen and the whole idea for this was RP2 Night, a good, you know, friend of GDQ, who's worked a lot on the Fatales events, you know, done a lot of in the background things. So we have a little message from them, thanking them for being here.
Hi, I'm RP2 Knight. I ran Crypt the Necrodancer for Flame Fatales 2021. I unfortunately am not able to make it tonight, but I helped get Kara, Waski, Danny B, and Madeline in touch with each other, so I hope that the 4 of you have a good time. Just to say a little bit about how I got into Crypt of the Necrodancer. In 2017, I was watching GDQ reruns. Saw Spoody Biscuit's Coda run for AGDQ 2017. And I was like, wow, the music for this game is amazing. I need to get my hand on this. So that's what led me to purchase the game, and I hope that you all have fun with it tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, RP2 Night, for recommending me for this. I really appreciate it.
All right. Wes, you ready to get back into it?
Yeah. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Let me play Dove.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do not like Dove.
No. I mean, like, I like her, like, casually a lot more than speedrunning. Like, casually, she's fine.
So what's the RNG element of it?
It's mainly, like, layouts can be really bad for speedrunning. It can also be, like, the items you need. Like, for speedrunning, you heavily need, like, Boots of Leaping or the Miner's Cap. It's just... It can be really annoying if you don't get those items. The Miner's Cap is especially helpful because it helps you, like, if you get, like, full surrounded, you can't really do much besides bombing. Because your bombs teleport enemies on this character. Because you can't kill enemies. So you got to be really careful about doing that, though, because your bombs also hurt yourself. And you can't wait out the songs, because if you let the song run out, you die. The only character that has that happen, you die. So if you get completely trapped, there's nothing you can do if you don't have any items.
I actually did not know that.
Yeah. It's kind of a big threat, mainly in Zone 1, because you don't have a build yet. Also because Zone 1 is so small, very tight corners.
Have you, like, really had just, like, oh no moment with Dove before?
Oh, yeah. Like, when I was doing Dove Deathless back in, like, 2019, I just had the run die to being trapped in the exit room. It's just so easy for that to happen if you're not careful. I mean, even if you are careful, sometimes it's just really hard to avoid. Although hopefully, yeah, no, right now this should be fine, thankfully.
So
Okay.
I know RP2 Night talked about how the music is what got them into speedrunning the game. And I know, Danny, you were talking about before how only seeing the input from the audience in online comments is a very weird thing. Do you find validation from people's comments? Do you believe it's real? Like, are you just like, oh no, everyone's saying, like, nice things to me? Has it, like, given you confidence in what you're doing? Like, how has, like, the feedback from audiences affected, like, your work and all that stuff?
I think it's a pretty common experience among, like, creative people who do stuff online, where, like, it was nice to you know, the first kind of big projects I did, you know, the music was really well received, but I would definitely go on YouTube and see the comments and stuff, and, like, oh, here's a bunch of positive ones, and then there's one person calling me the Nickelback of indie video game music. Thanks for that.
Yes.
But, like, I wish I had that kind of money, but I don't look at it very much anymore. I mean, it is, you know, it's just, I've been doing this for a long time now, you know, like, and I started doing Overclock Remix in, like, 1999, I think was my first published one. So that's
Wow.
24 years. And it's not that I don't, if anyone is ever just like, hey, you know, this is cool, I like this, whatever, that isn't, like, an ego boost, because it totally is, but it's like, I don't know. At some point, you have to like just be cool with yourself as a human being and not as like an artist. And so, not that I appreciate it any less, but it's just like it's less critical to me because like at some point you have to accept. Yeah, I might be kind of good. I might be okay at this. I might be okay. You know, I might be good. Because then if you're just constantly after that, it gets less and less. You know, I'm really fortunate to have a lot of people who tell me how much they like my stuff, and I really appreciate it. But it's just like anything you hear for so many years, you know. I joke about being like a mini celebrity. Sometimes, but it's just like it does make me kind of understand like having this kind of mini celebrity thing with like the indie games thing has kind of made me understand a little bit more maybe like what celebrities go through and how like, you know, sometimes you'll see like celebrities react poorly to certain situations, and I do have a little bit of compassion for them now because it's just like, you know, sometimes you just want to like be yourself. You just want to be normal. You don't want to be this thing. So it's kind of a complicated relationship with it all. I mean, starting to play live shows again, which is fun. Doing some Necrodancer stuff live. Did one in Vancouver here about a month ago. And yeah, I love attention.
Cool.
I love it. I love attention. I always love it. I love being the center of attention. I love it when people pay attention to me and like say nice. I mean, come on, of course. But like, yeah, it's just kind of shifted into just like, I don't know. Hopefully I'm older and wiser and like, this is just a thing I do. And I don't need it to be like the thing that like makes me feel good about myself. Like hopefully I'm a decent enough person without the music that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't mean to get that deep on it.
When you
but
do
like,
something creative, you know, it is, and you are the only person working on that creative element. Like the feedback is directly towards you, but it's also the thing that you love doing. So like, if people hate it, then you're just like, this is my whole identity. Like, and people don't think it's good. Like,
I have had to learn to separate that, and that is hard because when I was, you know, 20-something years old working at Circuit City, like, of course, all I want to do is make music for a living and be rich and famous. Like, I don't understand anyone who doesn't. And so like, but like, yeah, you just I don't know. I just don't even look at the comments anymore. Like everyone says that, but like it's actually true in my case.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you found, like you said, the work-life balance too. So it's like, you know, that your work, which is like, you know, your creative feed as well as like what actually physically feeds you, you're able to like shut that off and be a person, you know, without like having feedback from other people, which is nice. It's nice that you found that.
I mean, it's a process. It's ongoing. Like, it's intoxicating. It is intoxicating to have people like email you and tell you just like how much your music means to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's good that you're getting like that you receive that all the time though, not just at like specific places, you know, like at specific times. Like I know when you show up in person, there's usually like, you know, like a group of people that's always gonna want to talk to you and stuff. But it's cool that you're receiving that like in emails and comments and all that stuff too at the same time. So I have another fun question. So these games have multiple soundtracks to them, multiple people, composers. So does the fact that there's multiple composers on the games, does that hinder your creative process or does that help you validate yours? Because you know that you were selected to make your sound and do your thing. Does that like help you and you know that like whatever anyone else does, it's going to be like their thing? Like what? There's not many other games where there's multiple soundtracks like this. So yeah, I guess tell us your experience with that.
Yeah, so like in the original Necrodancer, the idea of the additional soundtracks kind of came a little bit later on, and so it wasn't really a thing until near the end. But like, yeah, Jules and Rival came in and did these really cool soundtracks. We had them be like straight remixes, where like they had to be same length, same arrangement, so they could be cross-faded too, so that like people were getting like the same thing but from other people. And we had, I think, 7 different artists, and some of them were groups of artists doing all of them. And yeah, what a unique experience to have, to be like, I'm gonna make this soundtrack, and then 7 or more really good artists like take what you did and do their thing with it. And like, that was just fascinating, honestly, to hear what so many different kinds of people and different kinds of musicians did with the same song 7 times however many songs there were. And we did similar thing with Cadence of Hyrule. It was a really cool experience. I think, on Rift, we got other people, the Rift of the Necrodancer, the next Necrodancer game, we have people doing songs too, but I didn't want to do that again, and not only had we just done it before and it had been done in like, on Rift, I really wanted to give up some power. I wanted to give up some control, because it feels like a very powerful, and I don't know if controlling is the right word, but it's just like, hey, you rewrite 25 of my songs. With Rift, it was like, hey, make something from whole cloth that you think would work in Necrodancer. And that's been, I don't know if it's a more rewarding experience or whatever, but it like certainly has been interesting, because I'm super happy with everything we've gotten from these folks so far. And they really get to just do their own thing. And I did a little bit of, I didn't have to do much direction, because not only were they all really good musicians and producers, but it's just like, I kind of coached them on like what I was looking for, and just like, here's what we're going to make it fit in. And they went directions that I never would have. And so like,
Yeah.
I think a younger me would have had more trouble with that, honestly, like because of the ego.
You would
and
think it's
everything.
competition rather than creativity, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. And so, yeah, this was a test for me to be like, hey, what happens if I give up that control and just let people do what they think Necrodancer music is based on what has come before? And I've just been completely universally positive so far. So
It has been really incredible seeing the collaboration with you and all the other artists. Like, there's just, I think, some of the best music in this new soundtrack.
And there is some stuff, it's not like I don't have an ego. So like, it's, I don't know. I wonder if, how am I going to feel if like the most popular tracks in this new game are not mine? Like, hopefully I can be a grown up about it and like, be happy about it. But I think everyone's got an ego, and everyone's got that thing where like, when, like I said, I love attention. If somebody else gets it and I don't, it's not my favorite thing in the world to happen. But it's been a good experience to just like put that ego on the line and see what happens. And there's so much good music in this game that I didn't write and I wouldn't have written. So,
Dan, we never talked about your casual listening experience. You had a lot to say, so we didn't talk about like how is your everyday like casual listening experience go?
I actually, for many years, I didn't listen to music at all. I played video games. Like I didn't even really do podcasts or any of that kind of stuff. I just didn't listen to music because I figured it was just like, hey, I make music all the time. I don't want to do it. But I challenged myself a year or two ago to just start doing it again. Make a playlist of like, all my favorite songs and stuff and start listening to it. And now that I have a commute too, I walk to and from the office, so many times a week. I have an opportunity. I got these AirPods, and like, I didn't even really have headphones that I only used them for work. And so it's funny, like, yeah, because I just listened to all this like turn of the millennium new metal stuff that I think people are often surprised to hear, like the stuff that I'm really into. So like Muse, System of a Down, but like Filter, Seven Dust, Korn, a lot of stuff from around that time. And like, it's nice to be back into it and listening to it. Like I got some HomePods in my house too that I just, when I take a shower or do cleaning or whatever, I like put it on, and just like, it's been nice to like rediscover just listening to music for its own sake. Cause like I just didn't for a long time and I didn't really understand why. And so yeah, just I don't really ever like just sit down and listen to music. I think the culture that we're in of the constant distraction just has kind of trained me out of that. But like, yeah, every time I find an excuse now, I just throw it on and some muse will be on or whatever.
Yeah. So you talked a lot about how your like early listening experience was like playing video games. So like, what age were you when you were playing these like Super Nintendo games? And like, what were like the ones that you were first like, wow?
So I was born in '84. Early memories, I had like the computer that didn't actually even have sound, but then we had like a Nintendo, then we got a Sega Genesis. I got really lucky. My dad got a good job right at the time where like the Super Nintendo came out. So I got a Super Nintendo for Christmas in must have been 93 or 94. And I got Zelda Link to the Past, Super Metroid, all this kind of stuff. But like Final Fantasy, huge, just Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kind of fell off around like 11. Chrono Trigger was huge. Yeah, just obviously all the Mario stuff, Zelda stuff. In 1998, Half-Life came out, and I had wired up. I had a Sound Blaster card on my computer, and it supported quadraphonic sound. I'm like, what is that? And I got 4 speakers mismatched from like a yard sale.
Yes.
And I hooked up quadraphonic sound, and I played System Shock 2 and Half-Life in quadraphonic with like a crappy little bass tube thing. But the fact you could hear stuff behind you, everything. Anyway, that experience of like playing Half-Life and everything's all around me, and System Shock 2, everything's around me, and like having that crazy, like I was just, from then I was PC. So like Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, and then PC, that experience happened, and then I was just PC. So I missed GameCube. I missed a bunch of Wii, so I missed a bunch of Nintendo stuff. Like I missed like Sunshine and Galaxy and like a ton of great games, whatever. But just like, I'm still just 95% PC because it's just yeah.
That's cool that like you had the experience of being like, when we went from mono to stereo sound, but then you were like, from stereo to quadraphonic. You were like, mind blown.
Dude, System Shock 2.
This is it. No one going back.
It was so scary, and I was 12 years old, and I just remember playing System Shock 2, and it was just, I mean, you look at it now, and the graphics are just ridiculous. They're like sub Nintendo 64. Like everyone looks like they're made of marshmallows. Like it's. But like, just hearing the stuff that, so I mean that, like I was saying earlier, like the technology part of things always was interesting to me. Where it was just like, oh, surround sound in a movie is one thing. Oh yeah, you hear the rain back, this kind of stuff. But in a game, like you are getting additional information, like positional information from this. Like that's so interesting to me, and like, yeah, just.
Well, it's like, using another sense that you normally don't use, but is so important when you're playing a game like that. Like, it's definitely like one of those things where I'll be playing. I like playing a lot of like adventure games. I guess I would call it a little bit more like open world stuff too, less single player things. But I always like take my time and I just like twirl myself around and see like where everything's coming from in the mix, and like. Definitely like paying attention all the time, like and it just it feeds me, like you're talking about how when you're being fed by the specific ways that like technology and the listening experience can improve a game, can improve musically, all that stuff. Like it's always one of those things where I'm just like, oh, like you get like the earworm and you're like, let me go explore that. Like it's definitely like a huge experience for me playing a game.
Yeah, I think it's part of why I like the mixing side of things so much, because it's like you realize like a good mix, good engineering can like make a huge difference in like how good a song is. Like, I know a lot of folks who just don't like to. I asked my buddy the other day, musician for games, and I'm just like, so for me it's like composition and mixing is like 50-50. Like what is it for you? Is like, oh yeah, composition 90, mixing 10. Like I hate mixing. I never want to do it, and it's just like. I don't want to say it's like bizarre, but like I don't understand that, because it's just like I don't know, it's like two sides of the same coin. It's so
Yeah.
you have this thing already written and you're just like, I don't know, just the way it is. It's like what you say and how you say it. What
Yeah.
you say is like the composition, how you say it is like the mix. And so like, I love just dialing like a kick drum and just getting that low end just right in there and
Yeah.
scooping out the side chain. And we don't need to go on all the technical stuff, but just like, it's a different challenge. Like it's a more technical challenge. So it's like, if I get burnt out on like coming up with melodies or coming up with chord progressions and stuff, I can pop over to mixing and just be like, all right, I need to clean this up. Okay, let's just get to it. And it's like, it's more reliable that I will get progress, because it's like, I know that these frequencies are clashing, so I can kind of scoop that out. So it's just, that's part of how I stay interested in this stuff, is that there's two sides to it. So.
That was like an exact question I was going to have that you answered, which is great. Is like, that's part of your process, is just being like, when you're done with one thing, you go to the other one, and then they feed each other till it's like quote unquote done.
Yeah, and I realized I had somebody, I've had people mix my stuff before, and I realized, you know, even great mixing engineers, I can't handle it. I have to.
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna
mixing
say,
is
does
a
it
part
bug
of my
you?
process.
Yeah.
Because I
'Cause
just,
it's-
you know,
yeah.
how deep the side chain hits and how bright the drums are and the everything, like, that's really important to me, because like it has such a huge effect about it, like how people hear it. So.
Well, keep in mind that your experience, you were mixing before you were writing anyways. Like you said, you were changing the instruments on like MIDI
Yeah.
songs. So like
Yeah.
you inherently learned mixing before composition.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
It's a different experience. Speaking of that, speaking of being into your hobby and also your life very early on, and having essentially like a portfolio and like being able to put out stuff and have all that practice, do you think that helped you on your way to getting the work that you've done? Like just being able to do that like so early on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And not only just because I met people through like OC Remix, but like part of why I justified it to myself at the time, not that it needed justification, but like, why am I going to do video game remixes? And it's like, I was even talking to somebody today about this who has played piano for a long time, but like didn't really understand why they hadn't gone into composing. And I'm just like, I started with remixes because you don't need to come up with the melodies and the harmonies and stuff. Like, they're there, and then you're just like making them. And so you can learn the technical side of things, and then, because it can be really overwhelming for people when they want to get into writing music, where you have to do both of these things. Like, we're not, 50 years ago, you'd be a musician and then you would just, sign with a record company and then they would have engineers for you. That's really not how things work most of the time anymore. I mean, maybe they do, but like not in indie video game music. And like, so doing the technical stuff, learning the technical stuff, the mixing and everything, and not having to think so much about the composition and arrangement and stuff, but you still get to mess with it. You can still like do a, remix a Zelda song, but like change the chord progression a little bit, change the melody a little bit, and then you start picking it up. You start just like getting that muscle memory of like, how do I, when I do a melody and I put something underneath it, like what else do I need? Oh, do I need a pad? Do I need, all right, how much drum should I have? And you get to make these mistakes in like a really kind of like a safe way. Cause like, you already know that the composition is good because you like it. You know this song. And so that's one thing that I think is a great way. It was definitely a huge help for me, because by the time I started really getting into like wanting to write my own stuff, I wasn't a very good mixing engineer, but I knew enough to be like, hey, this doesn't sound right. How do I fix it? And that, I think, alleviated a lot of like potential frustration that could have pushed me away from it.
Yeah, you're like aware of the tools, like the reason why it sounded the way, like the things that you could tweak with it. You also talked about before that you are not really heavy into music theory. Like you've taken some like traditional music theory classes, some like pretty heavy hitter music theory stuff, but it doesn't speak to you. But you've also talked about how like that environment like makes sense to you, like learning in a classroom like really helped. How often do you use music theory as like a tool for writing?
Yeah, so I wanted to go to like Berkeley in Boston and get like music education. Then I realized it was like $1 billion a semester, and so
That was the correct assumption that you made, good sir.
And I made the right choice not going there because I just went to Mesa Community College where I grew up, and I got a really good education. I took a few semesters. I just went there and I didn't even graduate. I went to community college for 4 years and didn't even graduate. I just took all the music classes I could because my dad said he would pay for it as long as I got good grades. So, all right. And so I took like guitar, voice, piano, composition, music business, music for film, electronic music, all this stuff. And so I did a few semesters of theory and oral perception, which is where you just listen to stuff and then write it down, learn what like intervals are and all that kind of stuff. And sorry, I got sidetracked. What was the question?
No, we were saying like how you use that. How do you actually use music theory? Yeah,
so,
because you were talking about how it's actually like a tool. It's not the rule, it's a tool.
Yeah, music theory is like any other theory where I think people misunderstand it, where they think that if you learn music theory, like you have to obey it. And that's not the case. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to learn music theory to know what the rules are and then make sure I chose to follow them or not. And it seems to be a very binary thing a lot of times where people are either like, I don't do any theory or I do a lot of theory. And I've definitely heard music from both sides of that kind of divide that just didn't do anything for me. Cause like, basically saying I approached it as like, I'm going to be half Beethoven and half Jimi Hendrix. I think I just wanted to drink a lot in college and not do my homework. So that's probably why I really did it. But like where I'm at with it is like, I can't tell you what key any of my stuff is in. I can tell you what like inversion a chord is in. I can tell you some, basic facts about things. And I think music theory is a very important, very powerful thing. And I'm very glad I learned what I did. It's almost like since I learned that stuff and then I immediately put it into practice. And so it's kind of instinctual at this point. Like
cool.
One of the like chord voicings, I think, is where it most has been beneficial for me is like when you have 4 voices, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and they're playing, and when you study classical music, and Bach was like the master of this, of just having 4 voices, and every individual voice is a melody that could stand on its own. And I really liked that. And I really like classical music for that reason. And so like, I almost have this kind of like instinctual remnant of music theory that I work with where like, I can do pretty decent voice leading and voicing because I did the work then, and now I know what to listen for. And like, there's this thing in theory where you're supposed to avoid parallel fifths or parallel octaves, that kind of stuff. You don't have to. They have a very specific sound and you can use them, and I do use them, but it's just like, if you're looking for something that sounds like it flows and it's like an effortless flow and it doesn't just sound blocky and paste it in, you do the work. You say, okay, well, everything's really bunched up here, so let's knock down the bass an octave and spread it out. Anyway, it gets really nerdy and wonky past that, but like, no, I found a blend that works for me where it's like enough theory to kind of know what I'm doing, but always like what's in charge is like, how does it feel? So
cool.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Is it kind of like needing to know the rules to be able to break them kind of thing?
I think so. I just never learned them well enough to really know if I'm breaking them or not. I did a panel with Jules. Jules is much more knowledgeable than me about theory. And we did this panel at PAX a few years ago. It was so funny because he brings up this sheet of music and he's just like, this is from Mario. And he circles one thing. This is a non-chord tone. This is a borrowed chord, whatever. And then he does another song, like here's another song, whatever. And then he shows my music and it's just all red. It's just like this, like borrow this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know I'm doing it, but it's just like, you know what I mean? Like I can't honestly answer how much music theory in my work using, because like it's been so long since I gave it like academic thought that it's just I learned some principles, I put them into practice, and now I'm old and I can't remember anything, and so I just do what I do, right? And yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember my like counterpoint homework just having like red X's on it and just being like, what did I do wrong? And they're like, yeah, this is parallel fifth. I'm like, well, why is it wrong?
Yeah.
Just all, all that stuff too. And it's also interesting coming from like, a school where your focus is like a lot of what they teach is like jazz based, which is like at this point 100 years old, basically. And you're trying to do theory on jazz, but jazz in itself is something that like where the magic happens like in the room at that moment, if you have like good players. And so it's like this counterintuitive way of looking at something is just like, it's like hyper analyzing it. And that's so cool that you talked about how Jules hyper analyzed your music when you were just like, yeah, I was just feeling it. And it was just being like, from a theory standpoint, being like, yeah, this just proves that, do what you're feeling.
It's really fun to have people analyze my music and tell me what I'm doing, because like I kind of understand what they say, but like no, what you said about jazz is just this whole other thing where it's like it is such its own thing. I was just watching Star Trek the other day, and there's this thing where Riker's listening to some jazz, and someone comes in and is like, "What is this? Is this music?" And he's like, "It's better than music. It's jazz." it's like a different thing. Like jazz is. When I was in Mesa Community College, like a bunch of my friends just happened to be jazz people. Like I'm not a jazz person, but like I watched them play a show and listened, and I'm like, and I'm just trying to like hear the progression, trying to hear it, and just like what are you doing? Because I was doing all of it, and I'm just like, how many chords do you play before it repeats? And he's like, this one's like 37, and I'm like, like most rock music is 4 chords and then repeat. So that is one thing where like I do try to not. One practical thing I try to do is not to do very blocky chord progressions where I just do like chord, repeat a few times and then move on. I really like to just like play with different, and these guys that are learning my songs now that I'm playing live complain about this, and rightly so, that I don't hew to like common lengths. I don't do a lot of like blocks of 4 chords. I like to do like 4 chords. Oh, and let's add 2 on the end, and then let's go back to these 4 chords, and then let's do 2 different ones, and then go back to those 4, but only do the first 3, and then go into something else. Because it's just like that playing with expectations stuff. Like I love simple pop music just as much as everybody else. It's fun. It's cool. You don't have to think about it too much. But it's just like I am always after this like through composed. I don't like to repeat stuff much. I just keep going, and it's every track I do, I try to make it so it's always changing, because I wrote a lot of looping music early on. And when you only have 90 seconds of a loop and you're going to try to write something that people are going to hear over and over and over again, that 90 seconds, every second needs to be as original as possible, or people are going to get sick of it really quick. Because if you write a 90-second loop and it's like verse, chorus, you're really listening to like 45 seconds on loop over and over again. And I got so used to that it just, when I started writing stuff like for Necrodancer where it doesn't loop, I just had to keep doing it, because it kind of feels like cheating to repeat too much, even though it's not. It's just like the stuff I like from like Muse, Queen, Radiohead, all these bands. It's very through composed, which if people don't know, that means that you don't really do like repeating structures. It's constantly new stuff. It's just what's interesting to me. And so I just follow that.
That makes a lot of sense when you literally drop those, 3 bands too. Like that. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure your band is real happy with you, because it's not inherent motion happening when you're playing stuff.
Funny thing about that is I did it to myself, because I've had to learn to play the drum parts, and I didn't play drum. I played drums for like 15 years, and then I didn't play drums for like 10 years. Yeah. And I've only gotten back into playing drums like the last 4 or 5 months. And I write really dumb drum parts that are not really like physically possible. So I'm that thing where like I would make something and someone would have to play it on YouTube. Now I'm doing that to myself. So I have to learn these really just nonsensical drum parts and try to do them. It's been really fun though.
Yeah, what have you, I guess if you had 10 years off from playing, like what has your experience been like relearning stuff? Like going from like the composer being a player?
I'm really rusty. I've had some like I had to get some like spinal surgery and stuff, so kind of like my nerves aren't exactly what they used to be. So
Do you have the throne with the back bench?
No.
Have you gotten that yet? Oh, they're like a game changer.
Those to me they make me have bad posture. Because I depend on them too much. But like, it's been a process of just like learning how, because like my brain still knows what it wants to do, but this like old rickety body doesn't always cooperate. So it's fun. It's been really fun playing again. I got V drums, and so like I'm making live versions of like a bunch of different kinds of music where it goes like funk and then like EDM and then rock and then metal and all these different ones. And I have a light show and everything. Like I put I'm gonna hopefully tour, like hopefully just play Necrodancer music live with my band in a town near you. Like that's the real goal. Like I got a cool day job. I write music for video games. It's still the day. I still want to be a rock star, right? And like I don't know if I'm ever gonna blow the top off of Madison Square Gardens with video game music, but like even just going to a bar and playing for 10 nerds and their partners, that's fine. Like I just going around and playing music games is so cool.
Waski, can I ask, when you just did your bard run and you were getting all those rings, were you just looking for a specific ring, or what was the purpose there?
Oh, I was looking for a specific ring,
Okay.
yeah. Also, it's fun to do, so I kind of wanted to show it off for a couple seconds.
Okay.
Is it harder to play when I'm just talking about stupid stuff the whole time? Does it distract you?
Oh, no, it's fine. Well, it was kind of distracting in Aria, but it's fine everywhere else.
Because I can talk louder.
That sounds like a challenge.
Yeah.
Madeline, what have you gleaned from working very closely with Danny about like the music that he creates and like how it affects the games and all that stuff? Like, what's some cool insights you have from working close with the team?
Well, one of the things that made me kind of understand or feel like I understand Danny's process a little better actually was comparing it to doing visual art. I dabble in some digital art every now and then, and realizing that like the way that Danny writes his music is kind of similar to the way that you paint a painting actually made it like a lot more tangible to me. Otherwise, like when I was watching Danny put things together, he was like sliding things and putting different notes everywhere and like testing things on his little keyboard. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. It sounds cool. There's the neon chihuahua, and I was like, that's hilarious. And I have like just the programs that you have to use to write music. I was like, even the technology is beyond me. But once I started thinking of or comparing Danny's process to like doing art, I was like, okay, this is actually like more understandable to me, in the sense that like when you draw, you start with a sketch and then you start kind of filling things in. I don't know if are you a composer as well, Kara? Do you write your own music?
I'm not. Okay. So I went to Berkeley for audio engineering. So I was in the studio like the whole time. So the way that music school works is you have to go in with your instrument and you have to learn like theory with your instrument, which is great for a vocalist who understands chord voicings. Anyways, it's something I don't understand. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but yeah, that's my problem. So basically, I knew I wasn't there for like specifically using my instrument and stuff. I was there for all the technology stuff. And I am in live music now is what I do. I do a lot of AV work. I do a lot of band work. I do big concerts. I do tiny little concerts. I do galas. I've done, all this stuff. And in this music school, they don't teach you live music. It's basically working in a studio on borrowed time. Because instead of being like, yeah, let's mess around with stuff, it's like, yeah, let's make it sound good by like taking time and messing around with things and breaking rules and all that stuff. And you have how much time you need to like work in a studio. When you're doing live stuff, that show needs to be done that day. You can't just put as many tracks on stuff as possible and make it as loud as you want, because then you get feedback from everywhere and everything explodes.
Oh yeah.
So it's basically like they're like two sides of a coin, if that makes sense.
Right.
Doing like working in the studio and then working live. So you're using the same stuff. You're using kind of, like the same tools. Like, you're using equalizer and compression, all this stuff that you're using. But and you're setting things up. You're setting instruments up the same way, all that stuff. You're using programs, like you have playback that happens all the time. So you're still using like, you have tracks that are going on and all that stuff too. So like you still have like, a desk with faders that you're mixing like live, but instead of mixing it and hitting like play and record, basically, you're doing it live. And so that's like kind of
it's a whole different challenge.
Yeah, it's the same but different.
Yeah.
One's a little bit more stressful.
Yeah.
But so I know. I wish I had, like most people in the live industry, we all wish we could also be at home, like doing music all the time too, like being producers, like writing all the time. But it gets really hard, and it's like I had a choice when I got out of school, which was basically they said that working in a studio, that job didn't exist anymore. So like you either have to make your home studio or you have to find like another part of work to do. And so I didn't want to like invest all my money into making like a home studio where I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to live and all this stuff. And there were so many I think my schooling was like, my classes were like 90% guys too. And it was just so saturated with guys making home studios. And like, that's not like the route I wanted to do. And so then I found live music was like the other thing. I was just like, I've been going to concerts since I was 14, like that environment, being around musicians, all that stuff. Like I already knew people that were in it. Like, my dad played shows a bunch. He still does. So like being in that environment all the time was something that like I was really into. And so that's why I veer off from there. But then I talk to people that compose and all this stuff all the time, and it's just like, working with the tools and playing with your plugins, that all still appeals to me, and making sounds and synthesizing things like all together, like painting again, it's like you said, if you were making digital art all the time for your job, but you really wanted to get back into painting, is essentially what I feel like it's like.
Yeah. I think like when you don't know how something works, like you kind of just think, like when I was first trying to talk to Danny about his process, I thought like, oh, he just hears the music in his head and he's just creating it in the program and bringing it to life that way. And then you kind of realize, like he says, you're more like puzzling it out. You have an idea of where you want to start, and then you just kind of nudge things into place the same way that you would with visual art as well. And I thought that was just a really cool comparison to be like, wow, art is just, there's a lot of similarities across any kind of art that you're doing.
It's cool to hear that you feel like it's like painting, but like,
painting for your ears.
Yeah, maybe like 3 times in my life, maybe, did I have an idea like in my head and then wrote it down. And I probably had an idea in my head more than that, but then I tried to write it down and it was just immediately different, or it just didn't coalesce into anything.
Yeah.
Like it really is just, it's analogous. It's like get some paint on the canvas, like get something there, and then it just starts to lead to other. It's just like internally reinforcing, internally inspiring, because it's just like start just going through drum samples. What kind of kick sounds good right now for like what I'm trying to do? Okay, kick or snare, or I'll start with a bass, or so like people are like, what do you start with? It's just like I've started with everything. It really can change. But yeah, it's just, I've just done it for so long now that it's not, I don't really have to, I definitely had a period a few years ago where I felt like I was like running out of ideas. And then it was just, I don't know, you just learn to push through it, especially when you have, I like having deadlines and schedules, because it like really makes me have to do stuff. Like I hate it, I don't like it when they're too strict of deadlines. But like, and I always feel like I don't have enough time, but it's just like also just starting to be comfortable with things being done, even if they're not perfect. Because like I go back, I listen to Super Meat Boy, and it's like, man, I sucked at engineering. But nobody ever says that. Nobody's ever like, man, Super Meat Boy, good music, but the engineering sucks. It's just like people will like what they like, and like, you know, and then I just, you know, I'm gonna be more critical about it, because you should be. Like, you should be, you know, I listen to other people for inspiration and stuff, but I absolutely try not to judge myself based on what other people are doing. It's more like, am I getting better? Because it's like, that kind of goes part and parcel with when I was just like, yeah, I make video game music. It is what it is. I'm not going to try to be Zed. I'm not going to try to be Deadmau5. Like, that's just not my thing. Like, am I ever going to have production as tight as like Taylor Swift because she's got $10 billion to like pay for the best engineers in the world? No, but like, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's cool, like my musical mantra is from Tenacious D, and it does not matter if it is good. It only matters if it rocks.
Yeah.
And I live by that. Like, I'll take something messy and dumb, but like fun and cool and interesting over pristine any day.
Nice. Yeah, speaking of deadlines, how long did you have to complete the original project of Necrodancer?
Oof. I think it was a year or two.
Okay.
It's harder because I was working on other stuff too. So like back then it was harder to nail that down because like I would work on other stuff and I just never really tracked that kind of thing. But like, yeah, it was
okay.
I would like to go back and do a game that only takes that long, because it seems like most of the games I've done recently, Cadence only took like a year and a half, 2 years. But like, I have worked on some games recently where it's just been so many years. I kind of miss the brevity of like very simple indie games. Yeah.
Okay, so how does like a day in the office work for you? Like what is your goal at the end of the day? Just make progress?
To dodge as many Zoom meetings as possible.
Impossible.
No, there's a lot of meetings and stuff now, and like it's part of it. I get that, but like I try to block out. So like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I try to block out like after lunch till like 7 to just have like 6 hours of just uninterrupted time to write. And it's pretty linear. It's pretty just like, you know, when I have open air to just kind of go at it, I just keep hitting on it and working on it till something cool happens. And it's a pretty I don't know, it's a very, I don't know what the word is, like it's like a dependable process at this point.
Okay.
Where I really rarely get stuck. Like I did, okay. I think I showed you the other day, Maddie, like there was this one like drop. It was like literally one beat of a song I was trying to work on. And I worked on this one drop for like 3 hours on a single beat.
Actually like 3 hours, yeah.
It was. And then like, it's like a weak fart. It's terrible. It's awful. Like yeah. I just wasted 3 hours of my life on that thing. And like, but it struck me that it's like, this is frustrating. I don't like this. It doesn't happen that often anymore, because you start to learn how to stay productive, how to stay efficient, that kind of thing.
You talked about before how like you can start anywhere with a mix. Do you get like inspiration from like plugins you're using? Did you find like a specific pad or whatever? Or you literally just start like mashing on some stuff, pulling up some samples, and you're just like, let's see where this goes?
Yeah, it's kind of wild. Like I've been using a lot of these plugins long enough now where it's just like, they kind of have like, I've kind of like anthropomorphized them a little bit.
Yes. Like, oh man. Okay. What are the aminals? Like, what do they look like? Okay. So, sorry, like, for everyone, a plugin is like, it's like the effects that you put on your, you know, you've recorded what your voice sounds like or whatever. You played your keyboard part, and now you have all these other little tiny programs in your program that all do the fun, you know, colorful stuff. Like, you know, put all the fun colors in there and whatnot. And that's basically what a plugin is. And they're made by different companies, and it eats all your money. But
yeah, it does. So I actually go a little earlier than that because like since I don't play guitar or piano or play any of it, like I play drums now, but like I use software instruments. So like the instruments, and then I do the effects on them like after that. But like Omnisphere, for example, is very like old white dude. Like old white dude in a suit, and it's very corporate, but it's every preset, every sound you get is it's nice. It's high quality, it's nice, it's dependable, whatever. And then stuff like Serum is very like, I hate to use the word edgy, but it's definitely more wild, and you can do crazier stuff with it. And so I just, I have Arturia plugins. Arturia is good, but it's like very stiff. Like it's very accurate to what the old synth sounded like, but it's stiff.
Yeah.
Anyway,
my MIDI keyboard was an Arturia one,
Yeah.
and the reason I got it was because I had so many different sounds to it that were literally all the 80s synth sounds. So, and that's why I got it, to like mess with stuff.
And
I would say I would say Serum. So I got Serum, I think, came with all my programs when I got my laptop in college. And I would say I would anthropomorphize Serum as like a try-hard, like wannabe DJ from like 2010s. Yeah.
It is the dubstep synth.
Yeah.
It is the dubs because it's fully built around wavetable morphing and blending, and that's how you get the crazy Transformers robot sounds in like that. But like, yeah, first thing I think is like, okay, what am I making this for? What is the vibe? This kind of stuff. And it's like, there's definitely, do I want it to be like more analog or more digital? And that just basically means like, is it more like warm and simple, I guess you could say, or is it more like complex and digital, where it's just more, it's hard to explain this to an audience that may not know these things, but like, I just have these like broad stereotypes, I guess you could say, about these different plugins. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to start with this one because this is the vibe, and then I'll start going through presets. And then if I find a preset that's close, I start modifying it, because like I definitely use presets all the time, but then like I always touch them. I always do something with them because they're never like exactly what they need to be.
Yeah.
And then you get something cool down and you start automating it. You start doing some stuff with it, and something else. Then I start hearing stuff. Like if I make a cool little like bass riff, I start hearing the drums, and then I have bass and drums, and then I start hearing the guitar. Just kind of sometimes just like in the music that's happening, sometimes on top of it. Because sometimes, and also mistakes are amazing. So often I'll fat finger something and it'll like do a cluster chord and it'll do this like, I'm like, oh crap, what did I just do? How do I recreate that? And then I'll find that again. And then it just, once you have more pieces in place, like the pieces that you're missing just become more clear.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool. That's how your composition brain works, though, because like you were talking about before, because you have all this theory training, like, okay, like this is like what it's missing, and because you grew up with video games, you also know, okay, like this is what it's missing. But it's cool that you get the inspiration from like essentially like sampling too, and like messing around with stuff.
I remember times I'm sitting in the back of the orchestra, waiting for my one triangle hit in a 12-minute piece, and like, the brass will be playing and then the woodwinds do something or whatever, and then the band teacher will stop and he'll say, okay, no, you need to do, okay, this is what you need to do because these people are doing this, and so you have to be you have to fit into this. And I paid attention to that like every time, because it is something that is never not interesting to me. And so like, yeah, I feel like, and I was in marching band too, and like that is a very ordered and crazy thing if you've ever been in a marching band, where it's just on top of all this, you're walking around a field with drums on a uniform and doing these things and whatever, and just like everything has to fit together, and like where instruments are physically on the field makes a difference to how like what people hear in the audience. And that's a good analog for like panning, like left, right. Like how do you make space? Because an important thing in music production is like the space that you're making. So reverb, we know that if you use reverb, if you simulate reverb, humans can take reverb and like instantly feel like they're in a space. And that's why people use reverb. And so then you start realizing stuff, well, like if I do this reverb on this drum, but then like a different reverb on this guitar, they're going to sound, and this is part of why I find this stuff so fascinating, is that you can have you can break the laws of physics.
Yep.
Because if you ever just listen to an orchestra play in a concert hall, every sound that is made is beholden to the laws of physics in that concert hall. But you can, when you're doing production, you have control over space and time. You can say this snare drum has this very roomy, very compact reverb, and it's gonna feel small. It's gonna feel like it's in a small space, and it's gonna feel like more intense, because if you hit something loud in a small room, it reflects a lot. It's really loud. But if you hit it in a big cathedral, it's like goo, 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 like that. You can combine those things. You can be in two places at once. And like, that's why mixing to me feels so musical, is that like, that's an important thing. That's a very important thing, to just, you know, put these things all in their different spaces. And then you can use these techniques to kind of fool the human ear into thinking it's hearing more than it possibly can. And like, that's the magic of it to me. And like EQ and stuff too, the low frequency stuff isn't really working. We aren't beholden to physics. Let's just remove that part of the sound artificially. Like, what is more interesting than this? There's nothing more interesting than this to me.
Breaking laws, yes. It is like
it's sorcery.
It is magic. When you first learn it, you do go, oh, that's how they made the sound. This is how you do that. Oh, and then like you're talking about technology, like the fact that we literally went from analog to digital, you know, like while we've been alive. Yeah. And now it's literally just like, and now you can break all the rules because computers, yes. And do everything, you know, all the time. It is fascinating. I'm gonna throw it back to Wasky really quick. Hi, Wasky, how we doing?
How you
doing? Good, thank you.
I saw that you were changing the inputs.
Yeah. Diamond has extra movements that other characters don't have. You can go diagonally. Well, most other characters don't have diagonal movements. Anyways, and I don't have my keybound to diagonal movement, so I have to change it.
Okay. I didn't know if you were doing like a big skip or something, because I all of a sudden saw you going diagonally and I went, what? Yeah.
Now, there aren't really any skips in this game.
Yeah.
Does it feel like you're speedrunning to a podcast right now?
It really does. But I'm down for it.
Like a podcast that you can interrupt at any time if you want to.
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
Just tell us, like, if you don't like the subject, you'd be like, no, move on, skip. Skip ahead.
No ads.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me tell you about audible.com. This is very scary. There's a lot of, I don't know if I like this area, because there's all these enemies and you don't know where they are on the wall. Like, you don't know if they're in the room or not. Who is this character?
Oh, this is Diamond.
This is Diamond. Diamond can move diagonally.
It was Diamond.
It was Diamond, yeah. Yay, GG.
Man, look at this.
So you consider these last four like the easier ones?
Mostly. I wouldn't consider this one easy, mainly because it's my least practiced character in the game.
Okay.
Do you always do the same order, or do you kind of just vibe and be like, mix up the order once in a while?
Sometimes I'll change it up. Like earlier, I did tempo pretty early on. When usually I do them pretty late. People usually do them early though, but that's because people are scared of tempo, because tempo is a very stressful character. But I like tempo because I'm biased because I have the world record for tempo.
That'll
Casual
do it.
drop.
Tempo is very fun to me.
How many records do you hold?
4.
So Bard, Tempo.
Yeah, Bard, Tempo, Dorian, and Bolt. Both
Bolt makes sense if you're world record on Bard as well.
Yeah, they're actually kind of very similar. I basically consider Bolt a slower Bard.
I don't think I've even beaten a single level with Bolt.
That's fair. It took me forever to get to this level on Bull. I remember when I just I could not like process how double time worked at all because I don't have a music history like at all. So like double time for the longest time was like sorcery to me. Like how do people play Coda? It was really fun learning this game. Well, I mean, I'm still learning it because there's always stuff to learn. But yeah, especially with the new DLC. Well, quote unquote new. It's basically new with how old this game is.
Yeah.
The team is currently working on the next game in the series. Are they not?
We are. We're technically still working on the Synchrony DLC. And then we're also working on Rift of the Necrodancer, which is we're calling it like a side quill because it's not like a direct sequel. But yeah, it's pretty different from Crypt of the Necrodancer. It's going more into like direct rhythm games like Guitar Hero. There's some mini games in it that have like Rhythm Heaven inspiration and stuff like that. So that's the other game that we're working on. And Danny's also doing a lot of the music for that. We talked about that a bit.
Yeah, Danny, you want to talk about? I know you talked about a little bit about how the process for the soundtracks. You said that you wanted them to be completely different on other people's sides, but for you, like going into doing a side quill, what did you really want to bring to like the next soundtrack?
So what's cool about it, what the difference is for me is, so Crypt and Cadence is just like, do whatever. You just need to have a hit on every beat. Like that's the primary conceit is like, what's most important is there's a beat. You can't go like 2 or 3 quarter notes without a beat because then the player can't lock to it and it breaks the game essentially. And so with Rift, what's nice is that there still needs to be the beat, but like there are times when it can kind of just like go away for a while because it's like this Guitar Hero-y kind of thing. And the way I approached it was maybe I've always done this and didn't know it, but like very intentionally for Rift, I wrote tracks that are like levels. Like the tracks themselves are the levels. Because you play Guitar Hero and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna play Freebird and we're just gonna do it. And just I think there's a lot of curation that went into like Guitar Hero where it's like we're gonna pick tracks that are gonna be fun to play in Guitar Hero because they kind of are levels, because it does a thing and it does another thing. Really loopy, simple stuff doesn't always work super great, at least for like a skill ceiling in Guitar Hero, because it's too simple. And so I got to write a lot of stuff, and like I was saying, I coached the artist to write like this too, where it's like, make a song that itself is a level, because you're going to be playing the song, and keep that in mind from the very beginning. It's got to go places, it's got to do things, and it's got to have like a flow to it where there's like harder parts and easier parts, that kind of stuff. So and it was really fun to write it that way, because it's less just do whatever feels good, just make sure it has a beat. And I've had to be a lot more thoughtful about like, okay, but what actually happens? And like, if someone's going to be playing the music, like much more so than in Necrodancer where it's just only quarter notes, if there's going to be rhythms where it's like da 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 or whatever, like be really thoughtful about that. So it was definitely a different challenge. And like the thing about making music for games for me is that like I feel like I only really figure out what I'm doing like right before the game is done. And so I'm at that point now where like I really feel like I know what I'm doing, I know what it needs, and so just I'm writing a lot of music really fast, which is fun. It's fun to write a lot of music really fast, especially if it's like good. I mean, if it sucks, that probably isn't fun, but like yeah, that's kind of where I am with it right now, and just gonna just keep jamming out as much as I can until we're done.
Yeah. Waski, I know we talked about, they're talking about how it's like a different kind of game. But
Yeah.
I mean, we have some people that are directly involved in the development of the next game. As a speedrunner and an avid player of this game, what are some cool things that you're excited for in another game or would hope for?
Oh, gosh. I guess, I mean, this would probably be an easier question to ask of like any other Necrodancer player because I'm not good at traditional rhythm games whatsoever. So, I guess maybe just like I don't know, like an easy mode.
Just make it completely different than what it is what you're saying. I think you bring up a good point though, that I consider Crypt of the Necrodancer more a music game than a rhythm game because, and you might, I'd like to know what you think about this, Wesley, but like, it's not really about how on beat you can play, like how good your rhythm is. It's just that you only get one turn per beat. And like, you don't have to hit it directly on it. It doesn't reward you for hitting it like directly right exactly when it is, like something like DDR or Guitar Hero would.
Oh, crap.
It's just, oh no. I ask you one question and you die.
I couldn't handle the pressure, I'm sorry. I'm gonna keep playing different characters. Oh, whoa, wait, why can't I? Oh, I'm silly. Sorry, continue.
I don't want to kill you again.
Oh,
but like,
wait,
do you know what I mean? Where it's like one move per beat. It doesn't matter how like accurate you are on the beat, because like it's pretty forgiving. As long as you only do one input per beat, you're good. So like, it's interesting that you say you're not good at rhythm games traditionally or whatever, and I think that's, I don't know, I think that's a big part of this game, and I think that's why this game also got a lot more mass appeal than a lot of rhythm games, because it doesn't, learning to play Freebird exactly how Freebird is, it's hard. And if you want to hit that mastery, obviously you have mastery of this game beyond most, but you're not a drummer. You're not someone who knows that they can hit every beat exactly where it is, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I like you asked earlier. I consider this a game to be like 5% rhythm game, 95% roguelike. Really, like once you get like the beat down, the beat isn't that important unless if you're playing Coda. Although if you're like an extremely top level Coda player, then I guess it's not that important there. But that's definitely not my case. Like, I mean, I can beat Coda, but like I die to miss beats on Coda all the time. Like it's definitely something I have to focus on there. So I'm definitely very interested in Rift and seeing just how well I can actually learn it, because it definitely doesn't seem like it's like gonna be nearly as easy as Necrodancer is for me at the moment. It's definitely gonna be fun though. I'm looking forward to it.
We're definitely trying to make it so like a broad range of folks can play it. Like accessibility is really important to me. So like, I it's sometimes it's difficult in like rhythm games to know what, like, certainly for me, I've been a drummer for almost my whole life. Like I can stay on rhythm. I can, like, because I've, I hope I can after playing for so long, but like, it's hard for me to like not have that. It's hard for me to think about it and be like, how hard would this be to somebody who doesn't have my 25 years of experience playing instruments, right? So yeah, we're trying to make it so that all skill levels can get something out of it. It's really hard to tune difficulty on rhythm games because you can't count on what people's musical knowledge and experience is.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main things that our team is working on right now, is just making sure that the balance is there across like multiple skill levels. We definitely have songs that are really, really, really hard, and we have some tracks that are like easy. But like getting that spectrum in the middle has proven to be pretty challenging.
I've been involved a lot in the level design in Rift in a way I've never been in a game before, where it's
Sick.
like I work a lot with the level design team to make sure that like the important musical concepts of the tracks are like expressed and they're there to be played. But like I do try really hard to like, that shouldn't be the end all of it. Like, how do I put it? Like, if there's a certain musical motif or rhythm or something that's really important, I'll be like, yeah, this should be in there, whatever. But if it interferes with like good level design, like, I mean, I'll put it this way, like, I really do try to be, I wish I had a better word, but like subservient to the game. I really, like, the reason I'm interested in making music for games is more about the games than the music. Like, if I had to choose, you can never play games again or you can never play music again, that's not an easy choice for me. I would probably stick with video games, to be honest, which is weird as a professional musician. But like, I think it just goes to show, like, that's where my interest lies, is like, how does music serve a game? And, you know, stuff like Super Meat Boy Binding of Isaac, it's setting the tone, setting kind of the pace of like what you're up against and whatever. But like in rhythm games, it's so much more elemental. It's so much just like, oh, the music, like, it is the game. So, but just try not to get caught up in like, just because it's a music game or a rhythm game, it doesn't mean that the music concerns are above all. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Speaking of, okay, I guess we can bring up that you've done pretty much mostly indie games. Do you want to talk about how, like, working on a team that size, or I guess giving like creative freedom or whatever, like, feeds into how you write? Or, I mean, you also haven't like known much else, and you know, you've done like collaboration stuff, but you know, I guess you could talk about what it's like, you know, being the main writer for an indie game.
I don't want this to get sad from the get-go, but it can be a little lonely because, you know, when you work on games as a musician, usually, this is not the case for AAA stuff or even bigger stuff, but like certainly in indie games, it's one composer, they bring him in near the end and they just say, hey, we need music, do it. Yeah. And that's not necessarily like a terrible thing. Like, it's unfortunate. It's nice to have it be more collaborative, but like you usually are the only musical person on a project. And so like there can be challenges where it's just like people don't understand musical concepts. And like I've definitely worked with people who are really, you know, micromanaging and I don't want to say demanding, but just like very, 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 they have what they want in their head and they just want you to do it. I think because I had success early on, most people who brought me on to stuff kind of just let me do what I thought was best, and they just trusted me, and that's how most games have gone for me. I do find myself sometimes wishing that people would be more critical, be more like, I have this experience a lot where it's, you know, I'll make a song and whatever, and I'll send it for feedback, and everyone's just like, "That's great. I like the guitars." Okay.
Yeah. See, I'm like, wow, that was awesome.
What's wrong? What's wrong with it though? And so like I've found people that I trust to send things to and be like, hey, you know what? But you know, it's this weird thing where like, would I make better music if I had more pushback? I don't know. It's working. Like it's I like what I do, and it seems like people like what I do. So yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting, but it's just kind of lonely because like if sometimes there's more than one programmer on a game, and so they can like sit next to each other and work and like that. I have to be in my studio and I can't socialize while I work. I can't have anime on the other monitor. Like my full attention has to be completely to what I'm doing when I work. And there's just, it's a little lonely because it's, you know, I'm a very social person, and I just somehow have found myself in a job where I literally go into a soundproof box away from all the people. I'm not sad. You're sad.
So we have, what, 2 characters left?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, awesome. And then we'll get into doing some of the musical showcase, like, quickly right after that, too.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like everything that you've talked about, Danny, has basically just been like your experience has been a very unique experience where it's like you were talking about the phone game that you did was when the store first launched. So you had like not a lot of competition. So right place, right time for a lot of feedback for that stuff. And then having like your, indie games just be like a big success for indie games that didn't really indie game before the indie games did the indie game thing, because it didn't even exist really before a lot of stuff. Just like you said before, it's like people don't want to, like, I don't know, break the machine that's pumping out the good music. Like, they're just like, oh no, you gotta trust him, he knows what he's doing. And I like how that you're talking about, he's like, but I want the feedback, please. Tell me, I can be nitpicky.
I mean, it's still, anytime someone does give you feedback, though, I'm still a human being, and there still is that kind of just like, I don't know if most creative people deal with this, but like this idea of just like, yeah, I want the feedback, but then like when I get it, if someone like, there's always that thing of just like, ooh, who do you think you are telling me what to do? I'm the expert, whatever. So like you really have to, it's really important to keep that kind of ego in check the best you can. But at the same time, you also got to be able to say, like, when you know you're right, you got to, I don't want to say fight for it, but you got to advocate for what you think is the right way to go. Cause like, they don't have that musical expertise. And so like, you have to provide, like, it's my job to provide that. It's my job to say, hey, this is why I think it should be this way. Ultimately, if it's on a music game, I'm going to maybe, again, I don't want to use the word push, but like I'm going to push a little harder for what I think it should be because it's so much more of an elemental part of the game. But like I've definitely worked with game directors and designers and stuff that they're just like, I'm like, okay, so what should happen here? What should we do? And they're just like, whatever you want, man. You're the musician. I'm just like, no, but like, what would you do if you could? Like, what do you want me? What is going to be best for the game? Because like that's genuinely what's most interesting to me is like, what would be best? And I don't always know that answer. Like, do I know more about music than everyone else on the project? Of course, but that doesn't mean I know what's best for the game. And that's, as human beings with egos, it's hard to remember that sometimes. So especially when you're just like so much more knowledgeable about a thing than everybody else, like that disparity where just like people don't even know what like triplets are. That has an effect where you're just like, oh, so you need a lot of help. But that might not be the case. People can still make good musical decisions even if they're not musicians, because it's such a subjective thing, and music is like has a universal appeal to it. So like, again, it doesn't matter if it's right. It doesn't matter if it's good. It only matters if it rocks.
That brings up 2 points. So you were talking about like giving feedback to other creative people, and then just like nixing it, being like, nope, I know what's right. So I come from, both of my parents are creative too. And I find like I had the other day too, my mom was showing me a new piece of art she was working on. And she was like, do you think this works? And I was like, I don't think it works. And she was just like, great. Like, and then like put it down. And I was like, I'm sorry, Mom, it doesn't work. And she's like, okay. And just be able to like give that feedback and know that's like, I'm sorry, you asked my opinion. And it's been like a lot of, like my life, like my parents have asked me for feedback on stuff, like when my dad recorded a new album, he was asking for feedback on stuff when he was like all that stuff. So it's really funny. It's really funny with your parents too, to be like, hey, like, because we all in it together. Like I asked my parents like their opinions on my stuff too, if they like it or not. Like my mom watches this show all the time. She's so proud of me. What's up, Mom?
Hi, Karen, Mom.
Yeah. And so but yeah, when your feedback is like part of your family too, it's really goofy.
It's really hard to pack that, that initial reaction of, the way I like to perceive feedback is just, most, how do I say this without sounding like a megalomaniac? Most creative advice you probably shouldn't take, because you definitely do have, at least at a certain stage in your career. Early, I think it changes over time, and maybe this is just me getting older and more stubborn or something. So I could be totally wrong about this, but what has seemed to work for me is like, I used to send people tracks and be like, oh, but this guitar is not done. Now I say as little as possible, because because if you tell somebody, yeah, this is feeling pretty good, except the guitar is too loud, you're going to get a lot of feedback being like, yeah, the guitar is too loud.
You don't want to give them the words. Yeah. You don't
right.
pay,
Because what you want is their feelings. You want their feelings, because that's what's important. That's what you cannot distance yourself from, is your feelings about it, because you're so close to it. Even when I listen to like Super Meat, like now Super Meat Boy, I wrote that, good Lord, 14 years ago. Now I can listen to Super Meat Boy and be, I think, slightly objective about things that worked or didn't work, but still, I still wrote them. I am the person who wrote them, and so like, you are never going to be, you're never going to be able to get that other perspective, and that's so valuable. So what I often will do is be like, I know what I think isn't good. Let's see if anybody mentions it, and if they do, that's as close to I think you can get about being objective. Of saying, okay, well, somebody else had the same experience that I did, not statistically significant at all, and unless you like focus group your music like some beat farm or something where you're just cranking out music as fast as possible.
Beat farm.
Like there's a lot of places where they just make as many beats as possible, and then they just, the cream rises to the top or whatever. But like, that's the closest you're ever going to be to being like objective and getting data, because this is not a data driven thing. This isn't, you're not making an app. Like it's not, hey, we need this functionality. Does it do the functionality? Okay, we're good. It's, how does it feel? And some people are never going to like it. Like some people, no matter how good you do and how good it is, they're not going to like it because it's not for them and it's not what they prefer. And so you need to remember that. And so oftentimes earlier on, I would take people's advice and then in hindsight be like, that wasn't right. Like it, maybe for them it was right, but like for what I was going for, that like wasn't right. So it's constant ego management when you do this kind of stuff.
Wasky, how's your, do you want to explain a little bit about the character that you're playing as right now? And why we got so many ghost friends?
Yeah, Reaper was originally added on the Nintendo Switch. Added in, I believe, December of last year to PC, which is really cool. But yeah, you kill an enemy and they turn into a little ghost dude. Right now I have the Ring of Becoming, which is a very risky play. Hoping it pays off. If I get hit at any point, I will die because of the Ring of Becoming. But if I can transmute it, then it'll become the Ring of Wonder, which is practically the best ring in the game. Hoping that happens, but if it doesn't, that's fine. I'm just trying to, since this is the last round, I'm just gonna take it just for fun, really.
Risk it all.
Yeah. Because I didn't get Wonder once throughout this, and I want to show it off at least once because it's a fun meme.
There's a lot of memes in this community.
Yeah.
I feel like
so I understand none of them. Not a single one.
Madeline, I feel like you are the meme curator is also part of your job.
Yeah, I think I think of my role in general as like a facilitator of things, including memes. But like, yeah, even now, for example, like I know I'm not the star of this show. In a show called Face the Music, I know that's gonna be Danny. I know that's gonna be Waski who's playing, and so I'm very happy to just sit back and watch and let people do their thing. And that's kind of how that's how it kind of is with memes in the community too. A lot of them just crop up organically, and you gotta just act on it and run with it. It's fun.
Yeah, the memes are great.
They're really good.
Have you had like an instance of like you went to sleep one night and then you woke up one morning and everybody's like talking about something and then you have to go and like figure out what the basis of like this whole thing was? Do you have any like weird experiences like that? Yeah.
There's so many, like when there's so many options and then you try to think of one and you can't think of any because there's just too many. That's kind of what's going on right now. But there's been a lot of trends over the last year alone where you kind of are like, oh, just time to hop onto this trend. Yeah, there's been a lot of fun ones lately. I'm trying to think. I think like one of the big ones was back in like the crypto NFT phase when I kept getting tagged across the Necrodancer accounts because it's Crypt of the Necrodancer, but there's crypto in our name because Crypt of.
Yes.
And so I kept getting tagged in things, and eventually I just had to. It was more out of like. I was throwing my hands up, I was fed up, I was like, please stop tagging me, and I made a tweet that's like, please, we are not Crypto the Necrodancer, we're Crypt of the Necrodancer, and that was one of the fun ones that came around. A lot of people liked that.
Monk does not support crypto.
Please, no.
For us, NFT stands for nice freaking timing.
Nice freaking timing. Yeah, and then there was the time when I think Twitter changed the icons, so like if you were an NFT icon, it was a hexagon, and our BYG logo is a hexagon, so it was just it was a time.
We doing okay, Waski?
Yeah. Just
Breathe.
Gosh, Zone 4 with Reaper is so hectic.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
All those ghosts. Oh yeah, and then we had some people in the community, because Zone 2 is lots of mushrooms. People like, non-fungible things. So it's like, it just wrote itself. I think it was Foodie who actually said that.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Koopy. No, we never got. So story time. We had someone just straight up steal the sign from our office. We're like in an office building and we're several floors up. We've eventually found on security footage someone who was dressed as like an Amazon employee or something. They had an Amazon jacket at least. And they just did a couple laps and then eventually just stole our sign. And we got a new one, but we never got that old one back. Somewhere it is sitting in someone's place, or maybe it's on eBay or something.
This is so wild.
It's just.
Oh wow! I'm just gonna.
No.
Oh no. Okay.
That's okay.
Well,
Speaking of getting robbed.
yeah. Okay. Waski, you want to get to a place where there's a ton of music? And then Danny, you want to show off some fun stuff?
Why can't I?
That you want to show off?
Sure. I just fire up the programs I was using earlier, right? And they should still be in OBS.
Yeah.
I don't do
And then
the
just
OBS.
make sure that we can hear them too. Yeah.
Okay. So we will start with let's show off that Neon Chihuahua. So this is a kind of new version of Disco Descent called Disco Disaster. There we go. Hopefully you can hear this.
Yeah, just play it for us in the chat too.
Oh, in the chat at the same time?
Yes, please.
In the Discord?
Yes.
Oh, because I stream. Yeah, okay. Can you all tell
Yeah,
I don't
share
do this
screen.
very often? Okay, so share. I'm a boomer. There we go. I'm going to
There
call
we
my
go.
grandson. He's going to help me set this up.
All right.
Okay. Is it going? Okay.
Yes. Okay. Neon Chihuahua.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Maddie, why don't you call out the Neon Chihuahua when it happens?
Okay.
You're missing it. That's
Yeah,
it.
it's it. It's right now. It's like yeah.
And you just bit crushing at the end. Cool.
You know it. It's need to be
And then
crushed.
breakdown. Yeah.
Neon Chihuahua.
There it is.
And we played that live last month too. That drum part is dumb and bad for humans.
Well, I was thinking there's so many different like pad and different like melodies going on at the same time too. It's just like you need to have. I don't know if you had like a lot of playback tracks for that playing that live.
We do. So I basically took out the leads, made the guitar play that, and then the bass made the bass player play that. We're trying to oh, you're not supposed to hear that. Okay.
Spoilers.
Still trying to really dial in like how, because I do really weird stuff with like bass that like a bass guitar just can't do, and like weird stuff that like a guitar can't do, and so like finding ways to kind of do that live in a way that a human can actually reproduce. So that's kind of ongoing, but like, yeah, it's getting there. It's a lot of fun to try to bring these things into the real world.
Yeah, I would say we probably have time for like 2 more. Yeah.
Okay. So then the other one, so probably the most popular song, at least on my Spotify, is Crypt 1-2. And so I don't know if we've shown this one publicly, but we did play it. But yeah, this is a reimagining of Crypt, hilariously named Crypt Took, because it's a 2. There we go. Josh loves trying to play that stuff on the guitar. It's
I was
great.
about to say, I was like, I don't know if that's possible.
It's not.
There's a lot of whammy bar action that needs to happen.
A lot of automation.
But it's cool because you're also making all this on just like your keyboard and just messing with it. It's like, yeah, that's a guitar. I can wail. Watch me wail.
I don't use a keyboard. I click it in with my mouth. Mouse, not my mouth.
Yes, you clicker. How?
Yeah. But these drum parts are so insane to try to play live.
Do you play double kick?
No, I need to learn, but it's
Well, you wrote
it's so late in life. That ship has sailed.
Have you given a band charts for this? Like, have you charted any of it? Just so they can play?
No, I just send them midis and they just learn by ear too. I mean, they can.
It's like you can write your charts, yeah.
It's just none of because I click it in and I kind of hand humanize it. Like I move notes around so they sound more natural, and so it doesn't easily transfer to like sheet music. And I'm also just not at all experienced with like making sheet music. Mm-hmm. And yeah, no, it's they learned 7 of these songs in like 2 months. Like it was crazy. Like how fast they learned them. Okay.
Yeah, that was aside from when you played live, that was the first time that the song's been played for the public. So
yeah,
yay.
Yeah, Elad, that the ride bell stuff is really fun to do, and I know Elad, so hi Elad.
Yeah. Also, shout out to production for trying to get the song names with the limited clues that we're giving. We got the cryptique.
Question mark. Okay.
Question mark.
And I thought I would just play what my favorite song from Crypt and Necrodancer is. And it's from Amplified. It's 5/2. It's called Power Chords. And I'm definitely going to try to get a version of this to be played live too. Because this is, every once in a while you make something and like, it feels very self-aggrandizing when you like love it. But like, this is like one of my favorite things I've ever written. So
yeah.
It's called Power Chords. Try to play those drums.
Well, it's hard. Like, what are you the only thing that's syncopated too? Like.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's so cool that the drums are the only thing that's syncopated and everything else is like pretty much on beat. Well, except for then.
Yeah, the exception that proves the rule. I love that you know what syncopation is.
Yeah.
It's like this part coming up, there's like a bridge part. I think why I like this song so much is like just the voice leading and the voicing in this section here I think is really good. Really does that thing where, you know, when I studied Bach and the way he would just have 4, sometimes 5 voices, that every voice was doing something that could stand on its own. Like I've shot for that my whole career, and like every once in a while I'm like, yeah, I feel good about it. So, and bring in some of that like classical sensibility to like spooky rock electro music. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be fun to turn into something live. But yeah, the amplified stuff was so fun to work on. The conductor fight is my favorite boss track from the game too.
Sick. All right. Well, yeah. Thank you everybody for being on the show, and I thank you for having this conversation with us. Like, this has been super fun. Do we want to go down the line and do some shout outs? Waski,
What am I shouting
yeah.
about?
Well, first of all, big shout outs to the Necrodancer community. I've been in this community for around 4 years now. It's just really awesome community. Everyone is so nice. Shout outs to my girlfriend. I don't know. Yeah, that's about it. Just thank you
Okay.
for having me.
Yeah, of course. Madeline, you want to give some shout outs?
Sure. Shout outs to you, Kara, for having us. Shout outs to Waski and R2P Night. As well as everyone in chat. It's really awesome to see so many familiar, I was gonna say faces, but usernames. And if we're shouting out SOs, then a shout out to my boyfriend as well for making sure that I was fed before this.
Yeah. All right. And yeah, Danny, you want to do some shout outs or self-promotion or any of that stuff?
I mean, I guess I'm playing shows eventually, maybe by people. So like, go to those and stuff.
Yeah. Is there like a
Shout out-
website we can go to check and see if you have tour dates or anything coming up?
I'm so bad at. I don't know. Maddie'll help me do that when the time
Okay.
comes. Maddie's good at that. Like probably my Twitter. Like I use Twitter much, but like I'll put it out somewhere hopefully, and maybe people will find it. I'm not good at this.
At Necrodancer Game on Twitter,
Yeah,
you'll find
yeah.
things.
Yeah, and if you follow Necrodancer, they'll definitely retweet it too. But like, yeah, shout out to my cat who showed up her tail a couple times. I kept trying to bribe her to get up on the thing, and she just wouldn't do it.
Oh, I didn't see her at all.
But I guess shout out to Johann Sebastian Bach for like being a badass 400 years ago. Beethoven, Jack Black, Freddie Mercury. I can keep going, but
Okay.
we only have like 2 minutes left on this timer, so I'm gonna say time on that.
Wait.
Okay.
One more shout out to production because this was
Yes.
a very, very smoothly run show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I just have a couple more announcements before we jump out. So yeah, if you missed any of our other Hotfix shows, be sure to check out the VODs on youtube.com/GamesDoneQuick. Your subs, Prime Gaming subs, gift subs, and bits cheered on the GDQ channel help support Games Done Quick Hotfix. If you enjoy watching speedruns daily, consider subscribing to the channel. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to press the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, go to twitch.tv, Games Done Quick to watch our shows live. Tomorrow, our Hotfix shows start at 4 p.m. Tomorrow, I'll actually be on Grudge Match. I'm playing Lethal Company. We're playing at, I think our show starts at 7, so I'm playing at like 8. I don't know. Come hang out, make fun of me, because I don't know